This magician is simply not scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Good Practice. Don't practice again in the future. Before, Tucker only used touch perception to obtain information from newspapers, pamphlets, etc. He had never used touch perception to read a large number of books. Tucker was not clear about the role that touch perception could play in the acquisition of Wizard's supernatural knowledge. When Tucker officially began to study with the necromancer Aubrey, he truly realized that Aubrey meant to learn the God-level wizard ability by saying touch perception. Normally, it takes 1 or 2 months to read a book of related knowledge. In the study of touch perception, Tucker can complete the study of a book in 1 or 2 hours. Moreover, through the study of touch perception, the knowledge is like alive and is stored in Tucker's mind. Once Tucker needs any information or knowledge, precision and the knowledge learned by touch perception are perfectly intertwined. Tucker can accurately mobilize a large amount of relevant knowledge and information almost instantly. Moreover, Tucker also discovered a very strange thing. That is, the knowledge he learned is like the veins of the world. With his continuous learning, the veins of knowledge are also constantly growing. Tucker knew that some wizard scholars had the unique talent of memory hall. Although his knowledge vein was slightly different from the memory hall, the effect should not be bad. He had a knowledge vein that could accommodate a vast amount of knowledge. He also had the wizard ability to learn knowledge by touch. Tucker began to absorb the basic knowledge of wizards like a sponge. Even the undead wizard Lord Aubrey praised him. During the conversation with Lord Aubrey, Tucker learned that wizard abilities like touch perception were relatively rare. In addition to daily study, Tucker was also constantly practicing his own witchcraft in all aspects. Even with a systematic addition of points, he had to master witchcraft, perfectly build a linkage between witchcraft, and deal with various complex situations in battle. These all required his own practical practice. Tucker practiced witchcraft. Those rat skeletons were in trouble. Fortunately, there were enough skeletons here. Those rat skeletons were not killed by Tucker and their ecology collapsed. Time passed day by day. Tucker's life was full and steady. After all, this was Tucker's favorite part of study development. The system continuously supplied him with source energy experience and talent fragments. And he also redoubled his efforts. His strength was visibly improved every day. Deep in the dark and silent skeleton cave, a rat skeleton happily shuttled through the pile of bones. The ribs and bones collided and tinkled. Those bones will automatically absorb source energy in the source energy environment. And what they have to do is to absorb the transformed undead source energy in the bones. Suddenly, the rat skeleton trembled. It felt a terrifying and frightening breath in front of it. It seemed that countless tribesmen died in the hands of that terrifying life form. Even, it vaguely smelled that in the breath of death, there were the cries of its tribesmen. Quick, run. The biological instincts of the rat skeleton prompted it to quickly escape from the terrifying life form. It runs pretty fast. At this time, Tucker, who was sitting on the skeleton, glanced at the rat skeleton that was scared away as soon as it emerged, and said secretly, "The extraordinary ecology of the underground world has the characteristics of hunting. Although I can gain source energy experience from rat skeletons by killing them. But correspondingly, I have also accumulated the death characteristics of rat skeletons through hunting. Those weak rats will be afraid of me when they see me." Tucker was curious before why those rats began to fear me. But as Tucker learned the basic knowledge of wizards' extraordinary ecology, Tucker understood. In this small ecology, he hunted too many rats, and he was almost the natural enemy of rats. Then, Tucker retracted his gaze and focused on the front of him. At this time, in front of Tucker, there was a lantern without a wick. In Tucker's hand, there was a small sphere the size of an egg, which was shining with a rich light. And this small sphere is what Tucker initially constructed, the spear of shaping light. The essence of the spear of shaping light is to gather the power of light through witchcraft spells, and then condense the spear of light. I don't condense the spear of light, but I can condense a small ball of light. And, obviously, the shape of the ball of light is more stable, and it is easy to complete the spell loop. It can last at least 3 days. If the amount released during condensation is lower, it will last for 6 or 7 days without any problem. For this spherical form, I have invested a lot of source energy experience. Now, I have finally gained something. Tucker opened his arms and stretched his body after sitting for a long time. In the land of ashes, a light source that can be carried stably and easily made is too important. Tucker's previous kerosene bomb was Tucker's means of making light sources. But it is easy to extinguish. The spear of shaping light, ball containing a sacred aura, is itself an extremely strong 2-star offensive spear. The strength is even enough to penetrate the second-level extraordinary living wood leather armor and the body of a second-level extraordinary hunter. It's too difficult to destroy it. Put the spear of shaping light, ball into the lantern. The light containing the sacred breath is released in the shape of a 6-sided glass lantern. The whole lantern is like a bright hexagram. Combining spells with daily life is Tucker's habit and direction of using witchcraft. As a wizard, I don't use witchcraft on a daily basis. Wait until the battle. Practicing witchcraft on the spot, right? That's too abstract. Daily use, the trajectory of witchcraft penetrates into your bones. This is what a wizard should look like. Stand up. Feeling the empty source pool, Tucker has a feeling of being hollowed out. The spear of shaping light is continuously condensed here. Tucker's source energy has been consumed. After all, the source pool of a level 12 wizard is not big enough, and the stored source energy is not enough. Tucker shook his head. As a wizard, you can't be short-lived. Here in the Undead Tower, safety is guaranteed, and the source energy can be restored quickly. That's why I can use the source energy so recklessly. But outside, the source energy is scarce, and that's dangerous. We need to speed up the development of the Dark Sea of Origin. I mentioned to Lord Aubrey before that I would use the source pool of the Undead Tower for a while. I wonder what Lord Aubrey thinks about it. During the study period, Tucker did not forget the most important things for him at the moment. Developing the Dark Sea of Origin. Replacing the Wizard Ring Staff. And Tower Source Energy Pool Baptism. These are the keys to improving Tucker's overall strength. Among them, the development of the Dark Sea of Origin and the baptism of the Tower Source Energy Pool can completely overlap. When arriving at the Undead Tower, Tucker saw from a distance that there were densely packed undead ravens standing on the skeleton railings outside the tower. But when Tucker approached, the light shone. Ga. A large number of undead ravens screamed and fluttered up. However, among the many undead ravens, there was one that did not fly away. Lord Aubrey. Tucker stepped forward and bowed to the undead raven that did not fly away. Come to the tower hall. Aubrey's voice rang out from the undead raven. Tucker's heart moved slightly. Yes. In addition, the undead raven glanced at the lantern in Tucker's hand. You have practiced a light-shaping spear very well. Don't practice here in the future. Tucker froze slightly. It suddenly dawned on him that he had actually used the power of light on Lord Aubrey's face. Tucker quickly dispersed the light-shaping spear, ball. Sorry, Lord Aubrey, I was too selfless in the practice just now. Please forgive me. Tucker apologized sincerely. Yes. The undead raven nodded slightly and accepted Tucker's apology. Come up. When Aubrey's power was withdrawn, the undead raven directly ejected and flew away from the place with a shrill scream. The sacred light almost ignited it. Tucker rubbed his brows, took a deep breath, and stepped into the Tower of the Undead. Chapter 27. If you can't wash to death, wash to death. Practicing spells, daily learning, he can completely calm down and study. His attitude is worthy of recognition. That's it. In the empty hall of the Undead Tower, Aubrey sat on a cold high seat, thinking about Tucker's achievements and performance during this period. The speed of practicing extraordinary witchcraft is really a bit confusing. He has only studied the spear of shaping light for about half a month. He can actually achieve that level of control, and the level is very high. Well, before, Tucker had an almost artistic performance in the control of extraordinary witchcraft. Now it seems that he does have an incredible talent in this area. Compared to the free-range Tucker, the undead Aubrey is more concerned about his apprentice disciple, Amanda. Aubrey looked at the hall. In the corner, if you don't look carefully, you can't even find her. Amanda has always been a disciple with a low sense of existence. Although Amanda's talent is a little lacking, she is very resilient and is a good seedling to be cultivated. I hope this baptism can bring her some extra gains. After all, this baptism is the last large-scale source energy baptism before the Ashes Dark Tide. There are many strange extraordinary origins contained in it. If you seize it, it's an opportunity, and even your extraordinary talent can be improved a little. If you can't seize it, it's just that you don't have that fate. As for Tucker, although he didn't fight for the baptism of extraordinary origin, but he still fought for the ordinary source energy baptism. How much he can absorb depends on his luck. Squeak. The stone door of the high tower hall was pushed open. Desolate, empty, silent, and the breath of death came over. A real necromancer is so simple and unpretentious. Tucker glanced at the girl shrouded in shadows and darkness. She was covered with undead black fog all over her body, which did not hinder Tucker at all. Twin ponytails, some freckles, not yet fully developed. The lifespan of a necromancer is relatively long. Inheriting the necromancer too early will delay the development cycle of the human body for many years. However, when it is promoted to level 40 and becomes a mid-level necromancer, the situation will be much better. Lord Aubrey. Tucker took off his hood and saluted. Tucker. The hoarse voice echoed in the hall. Before, you asked me to complete a source energy baptism in the undead tower, and I asked you to wait. Now the good opportunity has come. Tucker's heart condensed slightly, and he listened attentively to every detail. The undead tower is not suitable for baptism for ordinary wizards like you. If you really want to be baptized, it will cause irreversible damage to your wizard ecology. But, the steam source pool tower in our Lamore Tower city-state is very suitable for you. You are very lucky. A few days ago, the high level of the tower decided to start a round of baptism in the steam tower source pool. Tomorrow, the steam tower source pool will officially start baptism. Later, you will follow Amanda to the steam tower source pool to do some advanced preparations. After all, the preparations for the baptism of the steam tower source energy pool should not be underestimated. With adequate preparation, it is possible to absorb more source energy and capture the extraordinary origin. In addition, there are many precautions when going to the steam tower this time. Aubrey explained. Tucker's face was calm, but his heart was in ripples. The steam tower source pool. That is the core of the entire Lamore Tower city-state. The amount of source energy stored there is quite astonishing, and there is also extraordinary origin, which can react with extraordinary talents and even enhance extraordinary talents. Well, it seems to have no effect on me. Originally, I just wanted to secretly absorb a little bit of source pool experience from Lord Aubrey's undead tower, and open up my origin dark sea at the same time. Now it seems. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. I'm afraid it will be a feast. As a high-end development system, steady development system, in addition to being able to anchor an area for stable development. When Tucker enters an environment with very rich and pure source energy, the system will let Tucker enter the fast development state. Fast development state. Tucker was lucky enough to encounter it once. It was deep underground, the ruins of the altar source energy magic pool built by a dog-headed priest. It was an area of 5 or 6 meters square. Unaware of the situation, Tucker broke into it and just felt the pure and authentic source energy. The system's prompt sounded, the source energy environment is abundant, entering the rapid development state. In a few breaths, Tucker grabbed all the pure source energy there. Rapid development state, although slower than the system's rapid sweep. But the overall speed is still very exaggerated. Source pool baptism. It is a place where source energy is poured into the mouth of the baptized. And Tucker has the system function of rapid development. Source pool baptism plus rapid development. You pour it hard, I suck it hard. The main feature is the first-hand cooperation. Once the system converts a large amount of source energy experience, Tucker's level and extraordinary skills will be greatly improved. And this is why Tucker applied to Lord Aubrey for the baptism of the Undead Wizard Tower. With the system, as long as you can't be baptized to death, you will be baptized to death. And now, it is not a simple Undead Tower baptism. It is a higher-level Steam Tower source pool baptism. Or a baptism that contains extraordinary origins. After listening to Lord Aubrey's tedious instructions on matters needing attention, the two took the scroll voucher for participating in the Steam Tower energy pool baptism this time and left the hall. Are you Tucker? In the staircase corridor of the tower, Amanda, who was leading the way in front, suddenly asked, with a hint of curiosity in her crisp voice. It sounds like you seem to have heard of my name before. Tucker asked slowly. Of course. Amanda nodded, and at the same time slowed down her pace to keep level with Tucker. During this period, the teacher has mentioned your name a lot. It's incredible that you are willing to work hard and have good talents, especially combat talents. It's also said that if we have half of your cleverness, We can get along well in the Lamore City state. Instead of being locked in the tower like a landlubber, unable to integrate into the Lamore Tower City state. Listening to the slightly envious tone, Tucker smiled. Are you treating me as a template for other people's children? It seems that Lord Aubrey has high expectations of me. So, this time when I enter the steam tower source pool, I must absorb billions of source energy to be worthy of Lord Aub's evaluation of me as other people's children. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. You can't tolerate any light in your eyes, right? Glancing at Amanti, Tucker couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Some people fight to the death to squeeze into the tower. And those who are in the tower want to integrate into the world at the foot of the tower. Actually, Tucker spoke slowly. It's very simple to integrate into the city-state of Lamore Tower. It's just that it's not quite what you think. Amanti looked over. Why is it different? The way you imagine integrating into the city-state of Lamore, in the tavern, you are pulled into a team by 3 or 5 enthusiastic adventurers, complete 1 or 2 adventures, come back to celebrate in the tavern, talk about your gains with other adventurers, and when the grey night period comes, you sleep happily. The actual integration into the city-state of Lamore Tower, 3 or 5 adventurers pull you up, embark on an adventure, and they invite you to dinner by the campfire, and you are the dinner that is eaten. Tucker's words made Amanti stunned. This is indeed a bit different from what she imagined. Tucker continued to narrate in a slow tone. If you survived and completed a gorgeous reversal, your teammates became your dinner and the reward of this adventure. You silently licked and bandaged your wounds by the campfire and understood some things. Congratulations, you have completed the first step of integrating into the city-state of Lamore Tower. The first step? Amanti asked subconsciously. What about the second step? In the underground nest area, underground streets, transactions, and inquiries, you will experience a few more sneak attacks, assassinations, hidden guns, and backstabs, and finally you will survive. At this stage, you don't look like a good person. Except for some blind thieves who will grope around, basically no one will provoke you. At this time, you have completed the second step. Generally speaking, the second step is enough. Tucker said so. After carefully writing down these difficult things that Tucker said, Amanti was surprised and said, Is there a third step? Of course. Tucker smiled, and his smile was very bright. The third step is very simple. In the tavern, you, who looked like a newbie, were pulled into the team by 3 or 5 enthusiastic adventurers. After entering the wilderness, before they invited you to dinner, you took the lead in inviting them to dinner. Beside the bonfire made of their corpses and heads, you thanked the gift from nature. Return to the tavern and drink heartily while listening to other adventurers talking about their gains. When the grey night period comes, go home and have a good sleep. This is the third step. Look, this third step is very simple. Amanti was stunned. She tilted her head and looked at the young, immature, and energetic profile. At that moment, he understood the many explanations their teacher had given to Tucker. It turned out that what the teacher said was true. He was really someone else's child. The world described by the boy was completely different from the world Amanti imagined. But, since the teacher said so, there is no doubt that the explanation of the boy Tucker was correct. Whether she believed it or not. The world. It was like this. After a long silence, Amanti spoke a little timidly. Her tone was not so sure, and there was a little timidity. Can you take me to know the city-state of Lamore? Tucker leaned over his head, took a look, and smiled. Actually, it's good in the tower. But I will have to leave the tower in the future. Amanti said. In fact, it won't be long before I leave the tower. Teacher has more than a dozen disciples who left the tower. But there are only 3 or 5 who can reply. Necromancers are not well received, whether in the Ashland or in the outside world. Tucker thought for a while and said. Your level is very high, already level 24. Amanti paused, then nodded. She could understand more and more why the teacher always praised Tucker. She had covered her breath with the undead robe, but Tucker still saw through her level with incomparable accuracy. It's a very good level, and it's the time when the Lamore Tower can play a huge role. There will be a very good adventure next. If you want, I can take you with me. Really. Amanti's eyes lit up. Of course. Tucker said firmly. After all, I need someone like you right now. After Tucker agreed to the next adventure, Amanti, who was a little reserved at first, gradually became more talkative. The two of them approached the source energy steam tower. Roar. Yes, but not loud. The steam tower, which is more than 300 meters long, is like a giant beast. Under the bloody sunlight, it desperately absorbs the original source energy of the ashland, which is already scarce. Afterwards, the rich source energy steam was continuously spewed out by the steam tower, gathering into a fluffy, huge cloud-like steam ring. From the inside to the outside, there are 3 layers of huge steam rings. This also proves that this is a 3-ring steam tower. In the steam ring, you can see the steam elves jumping, swimming, and playing back and forth. The number of steam elves, their vitality, and their behavior dynamics are a barometer of the steam ecology. From the state of those active steam elves, it can be seen that the Lamore steam tower maintains a very stable ecology. With Amanti leading the way, Tucker only needs to follow behind. The moment before, the view outside the glass window was blocked by trees and bushes. After passing through the steam magic door, the view outside the glass window was instantly opened up. Even the innermost steam ring near the top of the tower became within reach. Tucker looked out. The entire Lamore Tower city-state seemed to be crawling at his feet. The buildings with different distributions in various areas were clearly visible. Extending outward, the site was a thick wall that resisted the dark extraordinary creatures and the wilderness beast tide. With the wall as the dividing line, Tucker saw the ecological veins maintained by the steam tower. He saw the outside world. The veins there are full of distortion, aberration, pollution, and other extraordinary characteristics such as dark sun. Distortion, pollution and other extraordinary characteristics exist objectively. As long as they are not too strong, the extraordinary ecology itself can adapt to and purify these negative characteristics. But dark sun characteristics cannot be eradicated in this ashland. Or rather, the world is sinking into the dark sun dimension. Tucker. The surprised voice interrupted Tucker's thoughts. Turning around, what caught his eyes was a handsome face under short blue hair. But the sequence essence that is unique to walking in the shadows makes it look a little bit wretched. The person who came was Carlos. Carlos looked at Tucker with 3 parts of surprise, 6 parts of doubt, and 1 part of ill intention. You. As soon as he opened his mouth, he seemed to be alert to something and immediately lowered his voice. Why did you sneak in here? If you are caught, my sister can't protect you. How about, before they catch you, you can quietly jump down from here? Tucker sneered twice. It seems that the obscenity and dark sequence of assassins have penetrated into your bones. You can't stand any good and can't tolerate any light, right? How dare you say that? Carlos' face was full of anger. Thanks to your bad idea, my sister has locked me up for half a month. Then you should thank me even more, otherwise with your unstable personality, how could you easily be promoted to first-level assassin? Carlos raised his eyebrows, and his pretended anger collapsed instantly. This speech sounded very much like his sister's preaching to him. You also broke through? Carlos asked in a low voice. Yes. Tucker nodded gently. At this time, the apprentices from many high towers in the hall gathered in groups of 3 or 5, talking and laughing with each other. Amanti also found her small circle. At this moment, Tucker noticed something. Then he raised his head and looked carefully at a room beside the hall. Click. A very slight sound of turning the door handle. No one paid attention to it. But in Tucker's perception, it was louder than ever before. Then, boom, boom, woo. The overwhelming roar of steam and the sound of whistles intertwined together, and the whole world was trembling. It was as if a high-speed steam train was about to break through the door. Chapter 29 Steam Night, Shiloh. After all, no steam train rushed out of the house. A tall, fair-skinned, blue-eyed, long curly blue-haired beauty came out. Even though she was wearing silver armor, she still couldn't suppress her devilish figure. For a moment, the eyes of more than 20 people in the entire hall all gathered over the beloved disciple of the wizard Count Lamore, a steam knight with extremely strong extraordinary talents and who had completed the steam upgrade, Zilur. At the same time, she is also Carlos's sister. It seems that she felt something. Zilur looked at a corner of the crowd. It was a young wizard who looked ordinary. 16 years old. Wizard. Low level. Looks ordinary and thin. Cruel. A series of words jumped out of Zillur's mind. In addition, Carlos, a guy who is not afraid of anything, looks particularly honest in front of the young wizard. The impression in the memory and the boy in front of him gradually overlapped. Although I don't know how he got in. But, this is indeed as Carlos said. That wizard named Tucker, when you think things are going to end normally, he can always give you a wave of incredible operations, shocking you. Well, it seems that after the end, it is necessary to get to know this wizard Tucker. Zillur retracted his gaze, thinking. At this time, Tucker was also shocked when he came into such close contact with a steam sequence for the first time. The powerful steam sequence, deep in the steam space, the sequence engine roared continuously, and the source energy steam sprayed out. Her whole body was filled with powerful and tough veins and steam source energy. Even this power has escaped, forming a steam source armor on the surface of the body. Tucker even doubted whether his bullet tentacles could break through the opponent's naturally formed steam source armor. My basic spells may not even break the defense. Tucker took a deep breath. Steam sequence, this is the version answer. Tucker was sighing. Zillur and two other extraordinary people who were obviously the top elites of the tower and might even be geniuses walked through the hall and left. Everyone in the hall immediately entered into heated discussion. Zillur. It is said that some time ago, in the competition at the St. Land Extraordinary Academy, Zillur and the top steam geniuses of St. Land were on par with each other. You know, St. Land is where all the extraordinary geniuses of our Dark Curtain province are gathered. It is really rare for our Lamore city-state to give birth to such a genius. Of course, otherwise, why would Lord Count Lamore focus on cultivating Zillur so much? I even heard that the Demon King's tomb this time was dug by Zillur. At present, Zillur is also one of the main persons in charge of the development of this tomb. Everyone discussed privately. Carlos on the side curled his lips. It was obviously me and Tucker who dug it together. When he turned around, he saw Tucker with a calm face. It seemed that the Demon King's tomb had nothing to do with him. Tucker, is this your friend? At this time, Amanti came over. At this time, Amanti had dispersed the black fog of the undead, revealing her true face. She was about 14 or 15 years old, with freckles still on her face. Just as Tucker said, she had not yet developed. As Zillur appeared and left, Carlos, this guy, was gradually noticed by many people. Feeling the gradually gathering eyes, Tucker glanced at Carlos and responded lightly, "We took a risk to cooperate once, we are not familiar with each other." Carlos understood, "If there is a chance, I will buy you a drink, goodbye." Then he left by himself. Anyone could hear that it was a perfunctory sentence. "Do you know who he is?" After Carlos left, Amanti lowered his voice. "It seems to be Cass, I can't remember clearly." Tucker thought about it and shook his head. "It's Carlos, he's Zillur's brother. That's the Steam Knight, the Iceberg Beauty." At this point, Amanti secretly glanced at the direction where Zillur left. The envy was well concealed, but it couldn't escape Tucker's insight. She was not young, but the slow development of the undead witchcraft made her still in the budding development period, at the age when women love beauty the most. She could only cover herself in the undead grayness to cover up the physical distress. "Oh. It turned out to be him." Tucker replied lightly. The arrival of the Steam Knight Zillur caused a small ripple, which soon dissipated after surging. Soon, the two were at the edge of the crowd, no one cared. When he felt that no one was paying attention to him, Tucker tugged at Amanti's sleeve slightly. "Let's go to the baptism room first." Amanti thought about it and found that there was really nothing to do, so he nodded. "Climb up step by step along the stone steps." System. The dark blue system panel of the system appeared in front of Tucker. Demon King, Crypt Seal, Source Energy Experience. 5.8 Experience Hour. Special Resources, Talent Fragments. 7.2 Fragments Day. Click on the details of the talent fragments. Quantity: 89 units. During this period, Tucker was diligent in learning and practicing, and did not pay much attention to the number of talent fragments. However, this time he entered the Steam Source Energy Tower with extraordinary source power. It is very likely that he will obtain talent fragments during the baptism process. Tucker needs to determine the number. This will also determine the specific effect of the system's rapid development ability. As for the source energy experience, coming here is to receive the source energy baptism. How can I not increase the source energy experience? During this period, Tucker invested all the source energy experience in the powerful 2-star witchcraft Shaping Light Spear. And the effect is also outstanding. Shaping Light Spear has been upgraded to level 19. At the same time, the response and condensation speed of Shaping Light Spear has been improved by Tucker to an extremely amazing degree. In terms of power, Tucker followed the principle of great strength to achieve miracles. He used the attack of the Spear of Light with the attack characteristic, the penetration characteristic, to the maximum. Soon, at the end of a tightly guarded high tower corridor, the two handed in the baptism certificate scroll. The middle-aged man with the extraordinary sequence of Scholar repeatedly checked and even observed Tucker's certificate many times, and asked Amanti for confirmation. After confirming that it was correct, he allowed Tucker to pass. Just highlight one point of distrust, Tucker whispered after passing the inspection. Amanti smiled with her hands covering her mouth. There was a baptism blunder before. Someone sneaked in with a fake certificate. He even completed the baptism, and when it was exposed, the person had already fled to Saint Land. This made the top leaders of the Rammer Tower very embarrassed. Since then, the tower baptism has been incredibly strict. It seems that the guy who secretly ran to the Rammer Tower for baptism would use this to ridicule Rammer if he met the extraordinary people who left Rammer. As they entered the Steam Tower Source Energy baptism pool, both of them restrained their expressions. One by one, the compartments were independent in each corner. The baptizers could choose the position that suited them. The surroundings were filled with relatively rich source energy. But it did not reach the critical point of rapid development. While looking for a suitable position for himself, Tucker's precise vision was released to the extreme at this time. Extraordinary source energy. A large amount of extraordinary source energy was stored in the deep dimension. Tucker could not really see the specific location of the large amount of extraordinary source energy gathered in the steam tower. But Tucker could hear the sound of the surge of the source energy tide. He repeatedly observed the veins around him. Until Tucker found a suitable position, he could never really find the extraordinary source energy sea in the deep dimension. Tucker thought it was a pity. It seems, the idea of coming in early to steal some experience has been shattered. Tucker sat down steadily, intending to fine-tune his wizard tree again to prepare for the next level upgrade. After all, entering the source pool of the steam tower for baptism. This is also a great opportunity for Tucker to let his level soar. At this time, Tucker suddenly made a new discovery. That is, the baptism certificate scroll in his hand has extremely slight veins that extend upwards spontaneously. Can the certificate contact the source pool? Tucker was stunned at first, and then surprise spread in his heart. A new week. Asking for a wave of recommendation votes. Chapter 30, Development. If he could steal some energy experience in advance, or even contact the source pool ocean of the steam tower, then Tucker could open up his own dark sea of origin, one step ahead. In this way, when the baptism officially begins, Tucker can save a lot of time. Thus, he can better use the energy to hone his extraordinary wizard sequence. Tucker originally thought that there was no chance. Unexpectedly, the opportunity was in his hands. In the corner, Tucker sat cross-legged with peace of mind. The luster released by the energy crystal ball was soft and calm. Tucker carefully observed the parchment scroll certificate made of special materials. At the same time, he slowly extended his tactile perception along the subtle veins upwards. Soon, Tucker felt a lot of things. The source energy ocean of the steam tower is stored in the depths of the dimension, and the steam tower is the outlet of the extraordinary source energy pool. Although the gate has not been opened and the steam sequence of the tower has not been started to allow everyone to be baptized, but the source energy pool itself will continue to flow source energy into the real dimension. The spontaneous connection characteristics of the voucher scroll can help me find these outlets, and then Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. I can completely contact the extraordinary source energy pool of the steam tower through those tiny outlets. Tucker stabilized his mind and continued to explore upward along the veins. However, the veins were too weak. Even Tucker, who had SS-level extraordinary talents, was a little difficult to grasp. After trying for more than 10 minutes, Tucker gave up decisively. If you feel that your talent is not strong enough, it can only prove one thing, that is, you haven't added enough talent points. Tucker directly opened the system. Add points. After a moment, all 89 extraordinary talent fragments were invested 500% increased to 589%. Although it has not reached the level of 600% and cannot form a transformation. But Tucker has already felt that the code and characteristics of the veins have been greatly improved. Continue. Tucker, who has improved, has entered the harmony of the veins again. But this time, the situation is a little different. As he continues to go deeper along the trajectory of the veins. Soon, Tucker can hear the sound of the tide getting louder and louder, until a crisp sound rang beside his ears. Ling. The current environment is detected to have abundant source energy, and it is about to enter the fast development state. Then, the information of the development log began to emerge. Ling. Get 0.12 source energy experience. Ling. Get 0.12 source energy experience. Ling. Done. Tucker exhaled lightly, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Although the source energy experience gained at a single time for fast development is not much, it can be obtained for a long time. Every second, you can gain 1 experience. In an hour, you can gain 432 experience. That's 10,368 a day, just over 10,000 experience. Equivalent to. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. Demon King, Crypt Seal, sweeping for 75 days. Although the speed is not as fast as a few breaths, the effect of sweeping for more than 60 days is so amazing. But, it is long-lasting. And, I stayed here for more than a day. At least more than a day and a half. That is the result of a quick sweep of almost 100 days. This will be another amazing improvement. Tucker sat cross-legged, feeling the information that kept popping up on the development log panel. Each line is a testimony to Tucker's continuous strengthening. Experience has been obtained, and it is endless. Tucker did not immediately open up the original Dark Sea. Tucker was waiting. About a few minutes later, Tucker finally waited for the information he wanted. A line of special text information appeared. Ling. Get 1 talent fragment. Looking at this line of text, Tucker accurately grasped the time. 3 minutes. And, there are indeed talent fragments that can be produced here. Tucker's mouth corners outlined a little smile. Through this period of wizard learning, Tucker also preliminarily understood that supernormal origin and supernormal talent have a great relationship. The Demon King's tomb has a large number of supernormal creatures that have died. Therefore, there must be a considerable amount of supernormal origin there. Therefore, talent fragments will be produced. As for how long it can be stably produced, it depends on the specific situation. Similarly, the steam source energy pool with supernormal origin, once Tucker touches the source energy pool itself, then, talent fragments will also be produced. It's just a matter of quantity. The single quantity cannot allow Tucker to determine whether it can be produced stably and regularly. After examining for a moment, Tucker continued to wait. Soon, the second talent fragment appeared. At the 6-minute time node. Continue to wait, as expected. At the 9-minute node, the third talent fragment appeared. 3 minutes to produce 1 talent fragment. It seems to be relatively stable at the moment. That means 20 talent fragments are produced in 1 hour. 480 talent fragments are produced in 1 day. 1 day, it only takes 1 day. My extraordinary talent will directly transform from less than 600% SS level to SSS level extraordinary talent that crosses 1000% node. Tucker took a deep breath, his eyes slightly condensed, and the light surged slightly. Since Tucker began to develop steadily in the Demon King Crypt Tomb, when he obtained 7.2 talent fragments a day, Tucker knew that it was only a matter of time before he would obtain SSS level extraordinary talent. But Tucker did not expect that this day would come so soon. However, when Tucker looked around, he was instantly relieved. Isn't the source energy pool baptism place of this steam tower a place for extraordinary people to quickly improve their strength? Its essential meaning is like this. Amanti, haven't you found a good position yet? Seeing Amanti, who had looked around but still hadn't found a good position and had come back to him, Tucker spoke slowly. Yet, Amanti nodded. Can you help me with a little favor? What is it? Later, I'm going to practice in seclusion to stabilize my source pool, so I don't want anyone to disturb me. Can you help me look after it from the side? It's just a small matter, no problem. Amanti agreed happily. If it were anyone else, they probably wouldn't dare to do this in a crowded place. But Tucker is different. Before, Tucker had already carefully touched the characteristics of the original Dark Sea seed. There are mainly 2 points. The first point is to use the power of the seed, based on the source energy pool, to penetrate deeply into the origin dimension. The deeper, the more stable the original dark sea, and the higher the upper limit of future development. Second, use the power of the seed to develop a source energy vortex. With a vortex, it is a living sea and can expand continuously. If the vortex cannot be guided out before the power of the seed is exhausted, it will be the dead sea. The dead sea. It cannot be said to be worthless, but it can only be said to be useless. Tucker gathered his mind and held the original dark sea seed. Like a thread, the veins were guided out of the original dark sea seed by Tucker. The power of the seed was also pulled in the veins. Then, following Tucker's guidance, it continued to penetrate into the deep dimension of Tucker's source energy pool. The development of the origin dark sea officially began. Chapter 31 Pseudo Upgrade. Guiding the veins of the original dark sea seed. At the beginning, Tucker was very cautious. But soon, Tucker found that it seemed quite simple to do this, or even no difficulty at all. Because Tucker found that as he cut into the microscopic dimension deep in the source energy pool, the veins of source energy were like dense capillaries everywhere. He guided the seed veins along the capillaries of the origin dimension without any resistance. Others were afraid that they could not penetrate deeper. But Tucker found that the only thing he had to worry about was how deep he could extend. Since penetration was no longer a problem, the next thing began to become interesting. Following the veins, Tucker continued to go deeper, deeper, and deeper. Soon, Tucker found that the fine capillary source energy veins were constantly getting thicker. From hair to fine wool. And from fine wool to thick wool, until Tucker went deep into the source energy veins of the origin dark sea dimension, and they were about the thickness of chopsticks. The seed veins supported by the sense of touch also began to be slightly disturbed. Can't go deeper. If you go deeper, let alone open up the dark sea, the seed veins will collapse. Then, Tucker manipulated the seed veins to accurately root in an area that looked quite calm. Tucker's penetration almost consumed the power of the seeds. Even if it was used, it was stored in the veins. After taking root, the power of the original dark sea seed quickly grew. A small source energy bubble began to emerge. If it weren't for Tucker's precision that could see through such a subtle level, he would definitely not have discovered this bubble. But the veins were perfectly mastered by Tucker in the subtle precision. Source energy. Tucker immediately guided a little source energy along the veins where the source energy flowed, and poured it into the bubble. The trajectory guided by Tucker perfectly matched the source energy veins of the entire world. As a result, the cyclone of the subtle world formed in the bubble. And Tucker's subtle guidance seemed to be the initial force that drove the world to operate. With the support of source energy, the bubble will not collapse. Therefore, the seed of the dark sea of source energy did not consume its own power to support the bubbles, but actively opened up more dark sea space. As the space expanded, Tucker guided the source energy along the perfect trajectory and began to pour into the bubbles continuously, forming a vortex and continuing to fill the extra dark sea space. The dark sea seed and the source energy dark sea dimension in this depth formed a perfect match, entered a virtual cycle, and began to snowball rapidly. Feeling the vortex spinning rapidly like a small motor, Tucker knew that the development of the dark sea of source energy was successful. Moreover, it was a bit ridiculously simple. I checked a lot of information about the development of the dark sea of source energy before. It is said that the dark sea is extremely difficult to develop. I made special preparations and even developed it near the source pool of the tower. I didn't expect that it would be so simple in front of the SS-level extraordinary talent, precision. It increased rapidly and expanded all the way. After half an hour, when the power of the original dark sea seed was completely consumed, Tucker's development of the original dark sea was officially stabilized. Huh? Tucker exhaled lightly and sensed towards his source energy pool. Before, with the help of the source dark sea seed, Tucker could still sense the dark sea dimension of the source layer. But at this time, the source dark sea seed was exhausted. Tucker could not sense the source dark sea dimension at all. Tucker could only rely on the source energy pool to barely sense the extremely deep source dark sea that he had opened up. That feeling was like a torch on the wind in the distance, flickering in the dark night with a howling wind. Is it too deep? Although the source energy can still be mobilized, such a deep dimension is still a bit troublesome. Unless it is a little bigger. The development of the source pool is very difficult. One's own source pool needs to borrow extraordinary treasures of source energy to be developed. And the difficulty of developing the source dark sea of the origin dimension is even more amazing. 10 parts of materials put in. I am afraid that only one part can play the role of one part. Tucker's depth 100 materials are invested, and it can play the role of one material. It's a great honor. Fortunately, Tucker has a system. Open the attribute panel. As expected, Tucker's wizard sequence has changed. Supernatural sequence, wizard, level 12. Dark Sea of Origin, level 5. Looking at the wizard of the supernatural sequence, and the Dark Sea of Origin below, after a careful examination, sure enough, Tucker said secretly, pseudo-upgrade. Before the great steam ecology of steam and steel spirit gave birth to the steam core, humans have been looking for things to enhance the strength of their own supernatural sequence. Among them, opening up the Dark Sea is one of the directions. But this path has been proven to be a pseudo-upgrade. Pseudo-upgrade does not delay the real sequence upgrade. At the same time, it is of great help to the supernatural, so there are still many spellcasters pursuing it. After Tucker felt it for a moment, he began to invest energy experience into the original Dark Sea, which also had the characteristics of sequence seed. Level 5. Level 6. With the investment of energy experience, Tucker found that the Origin Dark Sea needed more experience to upgrade than the pure wizard sequence. But fortunately, Tucker now has a constant supply of experience. As the Origin Dark Sea began to expand continuously, Tucker's perception of the Origin Dark Sea became clearer and clearer. The characteristics of the Origin Dark Sea also gradually emerged. Origin Dark Sea. With the characteristics of Origin, it can naturally nourish the sequence ecology. Secondly, the characteristics of Dark Sea make it a self-contained system, which will not be disturbed by external tides, and can continuously absorb the surrounding energy. In general, it is an unlimited source pool that can be developed infinitely. At the same time, this source pool has a super strong recovery ability. Tucker rubbed his fingers slightly. In addition to the basic properties mentioned above, because the dimension of my original Dark Sea is very deep, so the source energy of the Dark Sea will not be detected by the outside world. When it's ambush, when it's preemptive, it will be more concealed. After all, this is the basic professional accomplishment of a wizard. Tucker calmed down and continuously invested in source energy experience, expanding the level and depth of his own source energy Dark Sea. When the level of the Origin Dark Sea reached level 8, the source energy in Tucker's own source energy pool was slightly boiling and began to transform slightly. Here it comes. Feeling the changes in the source energy pool, Tucker knew that the keynote of his pseudo-upgrade to obtain the original Dark Sea and the qualitative change had come. The source energy of the original Dark Sea is much purer than that of the source energy pool. When the source energy purity of the Origin Dark Sea exceeds that of the source energy pool as the level increases, it will prompt the source energy pool to actively undergo source energy quenching, thus reaching the same level as the Origin Dark Sea. Source energy transformation. And this is a crucial point in the pseudo-upgrade. The purity of the source energy of the 8th level Dark Sea can reach the level of a 12th level regular wizard. Between level 12 and level 8, there is an important note of the first order transformation. In other words, the same level of the Dark Sea of Origin directly improves the purity of the source energy by one level. And, as an independent sequence ecology, the level of the Dark Sea of Origin is not affected by the wizard sequence. As a first order wizard, I can master the source energy of level 20 or even level 30. By then, my witchcraft will be much more powerful naturally. Tucker, with his eyes slightly focused, began to carefully experience the detailed process of the transformation of the source energy brought about by the pseudo-upgrade. Chapter 32 Level Soar. Inhale, exhale. Tucker slowly opened his eyes. The source energy pool in his body also completed its transformation and became calm. The entire wizard tree ecosystem has become much more stable. The sequence phantoms of many spells are presenting a state, becoming more solid and larger than before. The larger and more solid the spell sequence phantom is, the stronger the spell power will be. Level 11. This is the level of Tucker's Dark Sea of Origin at this time. The source energy strength has increased by about 50%. Although it can continue to increase, it requires an adaptation process so that the source energy can be controlled more smoothly. At this time, Amanti blinked and looked over. "Are you okay?" "Yes." Tucker nodded. Amanti looked Tucker up and down. She clearly felt that Tucker seemed to have changed. But she couldn't say what exactly had changed. In short, it should be stronger. But the source energy baptism hasn't started yet. Amanti was a little confused. Right. Amanti suddenly thought of something in doubt. Someone just came to see you. Who? Yet, that Carlos you're not familiar with. Amanti looked at Tucker with a slightly strange look. He's not familiar with you, but he still came to see you? You're not lying to me, are you? As if he had sensed Amanti's thoughts. Tucker lowered his voice. Sometimes, even if you know someone, you need to pretend that you don't know him. This is one of the ways to survive in Lawmore. Amanti looked at Tucker and thought for a moment. Are you going to go find him again? No. Tucker shook his head. Besides, I should have guessed what that guy wanted to see me about. Just sit here and wait for the source pool baptism. Yet, Amanti responded and sat down in the compartment that had been chosen next to Tucker. Tucker, who was sitting cross-legged, began to carefully explore the characteristics of the transformed source energy. After the transformation, my source energy can basically be regarded as the second-level source energy. In addition to the most intuitive characteristic of the source energy power, the response speed, detailed control and other aspects have also been quite good. After the opening of the Origin Dark Sea, the biggest beneficiary is my sheep transformation technique. As I continue to improve the level of the Origin Dark Sea in the future, with a sheep transformation technique, I can enjoy the suppression of higher-level source energy. Transcendents who are more than 10 levels higher than me may be solved by my sheep transformation. When Tucker was familiar with the source energy of the transformation, the steam tower baptism pool, a steady stream of transcendents entered. After finding a suitable position, these transcendents sat cross-legged and quietly waited for the upcoming source pool baptism. Unknowingly, more than 10 hours have passed. In the corner compartment, Tucker, who was sitting quietly, was now skillfully manipulating the source energy. Whether it was from the source pool or the Dark Sea, Tucker at this time could very familiarly and easily draw source energy to cast spells. Slightly, Tucker heard the sound of water flowing. At the same time, the veins of the surrounding source energy began to become thicker. The source energy was becoming more and more abundant. Not only Tucker felt it, but everyone in the baptism pool felt it. Source energy baptism. It started. When the source energy reached a certain level, someone took the lead in activating the baptism certificate. The power of the certificate condensed the source energy vortex. Then a large amount of pure source energy was poured into the sequence ecology of the extraordinary in the form of nurturing. It promoted the rapid growth of the sequence ecology of the extraordinary. As more and more people were baptized in this way, Tucker, who saw the scene clearly, was a little stunned. Does the highest end baptism often use the simplest method? This is no longer a matter of forcing it into your mouth. It is to open the stomach directly and pour it in. However, Tucker soon discovered some different points. That is, different extraordinary ecological characteristics appeared in the baptism pool, and they were quite rich extraordinary ecological characteristics. Capturing the characteristics of the veins, after a moment, Tucker knew what the extraordinary characteristics that appeared in the baptismal pool were. Nurture. With the baptismal pool as the mother body and the voucher as the vein, the extraordinary people are quickly nurtured to promote the growth of their extraordinary sequence. Although the form is simple, the method highlights a clear idea. After feeling it for a moment, Tucker praised sincerely. Others have already started baptism, and Tucker no longer hesitated and directly activated the voucher. As a large amount of pure source energy was poured into Tucker's wizard sequence ecology, the wonderful feeling of being nurtured emerged in his heart. Tucker was immersed in it steadily. In addition to nurturing and improvement, Tucker has also been maintaining the system veins of rapid development. For Tucker, the stable veins are connected, and it is very simple to maintain as long as he is willing. Others are developing in a single thread. Tucker, however, is quietly carrying out dual thread development. I just like this feeling of growing stronger quietly and secretly. Tucker, hiding in the corner, thought silently. The wizard tree was growing and nurturing. Tucker's level was also constantly improving. Level 13. Level 14. Level 15. When Tucker's level reached about level 16.5, the baptism time had passed for a whole day. At this time, it was also coming to an end. The ecological supernatural characteristics of nurturing gradually became thinner. Even those supernaturals with higher levels have begun to be disconnected by the nurturing characteristics. Only level 16. Feeling his own level, Tucker was a little dissatisfied. After all, the source pool baptism is a great opportunity to reasonably improve the level. If you miss this village, you will miss this shop. Add points. Tucker clicked on the attribute panel and began to pour experience into the wizard sequence. The method is simpler and more brutal than the source pool baptism. He kept talking about the level until it was raised to level 18, close to the full experience level. Tucker stopped contentedly. At level 18, this baptism is really amazing. Looking at his own experience and then at his talent fragments, Tucker was more confident about dealing with the A-level extraordinary genius of the evil god organization. Just as he was about to end the baptism and adapt to the 18-level baptism of the source pool, Tucker felt something strange. He turned his head and looked through the partition wall. He saw that the facial features on Amanti's freckled face were almost squeezed together, with a look of deep hatred and gritting teeth. Tucker couldn't help but be a little stunned. When he looked closely, Tucker understood why Amanti was like this. Amanti's baptism was a little different from Tucker's. Tucker's baptism guided by the credentials was a pure source energy baptism, which only increased the level of the extraordinary sequence. Amanti's baptism, on the other hand, would guide the extraordinary origin, which could improve his extraordinary talent to a certain extent. Tucker had already seen Amanti's extraordinary talent when she was baptized and tried her best to absorb the extraordinary origin. C-level peak. 49%. If you look more carefully, it should be about 49.5%. Obviously, Amanti came with a mission. She wanted to use this baptism to increase her talent to 50%. Complete the transformation to B-level extraordinary talent. After a baptism, it is now 49.8%. It is very close to the critical point of 50%. But the baptism is coming to an end, and that 0.2% is like a natural moat. What a pity. Tucker shook his head secretly. If possible, Tucker would not be stingy and give the other party a fragment to let Amanti complete the transformation of B-level extraordinary talent. But the problem is that Tucker can only use the resources produced by the steady development of the system for his own use. However, when Tucker saw the extraordinary origin veins floating in the sky, he could cut into them very clearly. A strange feeling came to his heart. If I can control the trajectory of the world's operation, then, what a wonderful scene it would be. SS-level extraordinary talent is the entry point, allowing me to more perfectly fit the world's veins and trajectory. Then, what are the precise characteristics of the SSS-level extraordinary talent? Chapter 33 SSS level. Accuracy, SS level. 589%. Talent fragments. 746. Looking at his SS level talent and the talent fragments in his hand at this time. Breaking through 1000%. Reaching the unprecedented SSS level extraordinary talent. This is no longer a problem for Tucker. Give it a try. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. It just so happens that there are ready-made origin veins here, and we can conduct certain experiments. Even if the experiment fails, it's not a loss. Add points. Tucker began to add points in large quantities at 589% accuracy, 600%, 700%, 800%. Every time he completed a full point breakthrough, Tucker could feel the tracks and veins becoming more and more intimate. He could easily cut into any inconspicuous node. This also means that Tucker's accuracy has reached a godlike level. But this is not enough. And when Tucker's points officially reached 1000%, SSS level extraordinary talent was officially born. At that moment, the world that Tucker saw seemed to come alive. The static veins and dynamic trajectories of the world were no longer the form of quiet flow before. Instead, it presented a strange state that could be woven, adjusted, and corrected. Before, Tucker only matched the veins of the world and cut into the veins of the world. But he could not change the veins of the world. But at this moment, Tucker stretched out his finger and gently flicked it in front of his eyes. The natural veins that Tucker could not touch before, under the fluctuation of Tucker's fingers, showed a wonderful arc. The veins of the world, the trajectory of all things. At this moment, in Tucker's hands, they were silently plucked. S level, perceive and see the veins and trajectories of the world. SS level, can cut into the veins and trajectories of the world in detail. And SSS level, is, as Tucker opened the system. Precision, correction, SSS level. 1000%. The essence of the SSS level extraordinary talent has been completely presented. That is correction. Tucker can change the trajectory and veins of this world. The ability to change the world. Is this the SSS level extraordinary talent? Feeling the pulse of the world, the feeling of beating at his fingertips. Tucker, like a sculpture, sat quietly. More, just a little more. I can complete the transformation of extraordinary talent. Amanti clenched her two small fists tightly together, trying her best to absorb those extraordinary origins. C level 49% extraordinary talent. And B level 50% extraordinary talent, although there is only a 1% difference. But there is a world of difference. First of all, crossing that node will complete a transformation, and the talent characteristics will be greatly improved. At the same time, B-level extraordinary talents are elite level even in those big places. And in a small place like Lamor, it is even a little genius. The teacher deliberately left her a chance for a large-scale source energy baptism. The purpose is to allow her to complete the transformation of her talent. Feeling the increasingly thin extraordinary origin. Even though Amanti already knew the ending. But she still didn't give up. Still stubborn, and trying to absorb the increasingly thin supernatural origin. As time went by, despair surged into her heart. Was she going to fail? Amanti couldn't help but stretch out her palm, hoping to grab something, hoping that a miracle would happen. Then, a miracle really happened. In Amanti's perception, a large amount of supernatural origin suddenly rushed towards her, almost drowning her. She was stunned, and tears burst out instantly. But soon, she wiped away her tears. She began to seriously absorb the supernatural origin that was rushing in. With the infusion of a large amount of supernatural origin, Amanti's necromancer talent soon reached 50% of the spiritual world point, and began to transform from C level to B level. And the strange supernatural origin energy also disappeared strangely at this time. It came quickly and went quickly. Everything seemed like a dream. But Amanti knew that the miracle had really happened to her. Thank you, goddess of luck. Amanti thanked sincerely. Horizontal ellipsis. Watching Amanti, whose extraordinary talent was transforming, Tucker smiled knowingly. Then Tucker raised his head and looked at the large number of extraordinary origin veins floating in the air. Although SSS level precision, correction can change the trajectory of these origin veins through correction. But this change is temporary. As soon as I let go, they will spontaneously correct themselves and return to their original positions. It may also be that my precision, correction, is only 1000%, and I have just entered the threshold of the new world, and I can't really change the veins. Wait until I adapt perfectly, and then improve a little. Maybe it will be a little different. Let alone this incredible SSS level extraordinary talent. Even for S-level extraordinary talents, Tucker has obtained very little information from the outside world. Everything can only be slowly explored by Tucker alone. But judging from the situation that S-level extraordinary talents have announced information to the outside world, I am afraid. Every S-level extraordinary talent has a characteristic similar to Tucker's, precision, that can see the veins and trajectories of the world. Peeping into the essence of the extraordinary world. It is very likely one of the essential characteristics of the S-level extraordinary talent. However, Tucker only has one extraordinary talent at present. Wait until Tucker completes the STEAM upgrade. After mastering the upgrade, the second extraordinary talent. Maybe Tucker can start from the beginning and slowly add some points. Carefully experience the strange changes of extraordinary talents from the lowest level F level to the S level. What are you looking at? A mysterious sentence, in a very low tone, sounded quietly at a position very close to Tucker. If it were someone else, they would be frightened and angry at the least, and they would be frightened to the point of jumping off. But Tucker was calm. Tucker had already discovered Carlos hiding aside. I've said it before, we don't know each other, why did you look for me before? Tucker also lowered his voice to a level that only Carlos could hear. What happened? Although Carlos is not that smart, this guy's frequency can always match Tucker's. Tucker took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Things are more complicated than I thought. To sum it up, someone is targeting you, maybe a member of the Dark Sun Church. If it weren't for your sister protecting you during this period, do you think they would capture you, extract your soul to ask for valuable information, and then kill you? Hiss, not that exaggerated. Carlos took a breath. Haha. I'm afraid it's more exaggerated than I thought. Tucker said lightly. You need to follow the person who is following you now. Aren't they going to capture me? You still want me to follow them, aren't you asking me to die? Carlos raised his eyebrows. Tucker said indifferently, just say whether you are going or not. Chapter 34, Honest people don't speak in secret. Go. Maybe Carlos is sometimes out of tune, but he is definitely not a coward. What's more, that guy is the one who is following him. With a flip of his hand, Tucker took out a rolled yellow parchment. Carlos took it and opened it. A nearly realistic head portrait appeared on the parchment roll. And the head portrait also showed a sneaky peeping action. A moving magic head portrait? How did you do it? Carlos raised his eyebrows and asked subconsciously. Use your eyes to remember the other person's appearance, form a fixed knowledge vein, and then use touch perception to connect the knowledge vein, invest source energy, and trace it back on the parchment. This series of witchcraft linkage and operations involving his own special abilities. It would probably take a lot of time to explain. In the end, all the above operations were simplified by Tucker. Rub your hands. Oh. Carlos frowned slightly. What I'm asking is, how did you find out that this guy was following me? You know, there were quite a few people there at the time. And I know this guy. It's not strange that he looked at me twice more. Tucker paused, then slowly said, have you heard of divination? Divination? How come I didn't know you have this ability? As a wizard, I know some divination skills. It's reasonable. What you said makes sense, but I don't believe it at all. Believe it or not, remember. Tucker whispered. Be careful. If you are discovered, run fast. They are not good people. Understood. Carlos nodded slightly. Carlos's level has reached level 16. What's more, he has a life-saving trump card given to him by his sister. In the high tower area, it is difficult to get into trouble. In addition, my sister wants to see you, which is why I came to find you. After saying that, Carlos handed a small note to Tucker. After doing all this, Carlos left quietly. He had taken a look at the location of the guy who had a slight connection with him and was following him when he was circling around to find Tucker. Now that he knew the other party was up to no good, he naturally had a way to track him. Carlos left, and Tucker was just about to continue rapid development for a while. You can also tell fortunes. Amanda looked over at the side. The joy was about to overflow from her face. Tucker sighed. It seemed that the short period of stable development in the future would be hopeless. How is it? Tucker did not answer but instead said a steady question. This question seemed to open the source of Amanda's sharing of her happiness. Amanda happily told this story from the beginning of the baptism, until the miracle happened and ended. Miracle. Yes, it was a miracle. Thank the goddess of luck. Amanda smiled particularly brightly. Today is a lucky day. It is indeed a lucky day. Tucker nodded, and then asked in a low voice. You can also possess the undead raven like Mr. Aubrey. That's not called possession, that's called undead projection. Amanda corrected. Well, it's undead projection, can you do it? Yes, but mine is not an undead raven, but an undead dragonfly. Amanda raised his hand and the undead gray mist condensed. When it dispersed, an undead dragonfly with the same appearance as the larger black dragonfly in Tucker's memory, condensed with a breath of death, emerged. I didn't know there was such a thing in the undead world. After observing it, Tucker sighed softly. Most of the other extraordinary people know about the skeleton systems such as the undead skeleton. In fact, in the ecology of the undead world, there are all kinds of undead creatures. I once borrowed a teacher's tower and projected on an undead dragonfly in the lost lair of the dead. I even flew to a huge bone dragon, but the bone dragon didn't care much about me. Small creatures can sometimes play a big role. After all, no one cares about them, right? Besides, there are often undead creatures appearing in the sky above Lamor. You just don't pay attention. As Amanda's slender fingers danced, the undead dragonfly also made the dragonfly skimming the water. Tucker didn't expect that Amanda actually had such a magical ability. When we go out later, can you help me keep an eye on this person? Tucker said, taking out a magic head portrait parchment. This person? What's wrong with her? Amanda asked in confusion. She is one of the special targets I suspect, and an important note in our next adventure. Yes. Amanda nodded carefully. Since it involves adventure, she has no choice but to do it. At this time, the energy baptism pool has officially ended. The guard who came in saw the undead creatures summoned by Amanda and shouted immediately. Hey! This is the baptism pool, not the place for you necromancers to summon the undead. After glaring at the guard, Amanda dispersed the undead dragonflies and carefully put away the magic portrait parchment given to him by Tucker. At this time, many baptizers stood up one after another. The guards began to conduct a comprehensive inspection of the entire baptism pool. Just as Amanti said before, the current energy baptism pool is really strictly checked. Everyone left the energy baptism pool one after another. Carlos mixed in the crowd and soon disappeared. Amanti also talked and laughed with her sisters, discussing the experience of this baptism. However, the undead dragonflies that had already flown out showed that she was also fulfilling the task assigned to her by Tucker. Wait until everyone else has left. Tucker fumbled for the note. After a moment, he walked down the steps of the tower alone. Of course, Tucker had to accept Zilur's invitation. The bloody light filled the room. A clockwork cat doll that was almost the same as a real cat was sleeping soundly on the cushions on the back of the sofa, and its stomach was gurgling. And the clockwork cat doll gave Tucker a feeling of danger. In addition to the clockwork cat doll, the mechanical hound of a mechanical life form outside the glass window was chewing a piece of black ore, making a clicking sound. The very rare mechanical life form was kept as a pet by Zilur. It is said that the research on mechanical life forms is a very cutting-edge extraordinary research topic. Tucker had just seen the content about the research on a small number of mechanical life forms in the Steam Daily. At this time, Zilur was sitting opposite Tucker. He looked at Tucker quietly. "You are much younger than I thought. To be precise, you are still just a child." Zilur spoke softly, without much emotion in his tone. "Not young anymore. In fact, some people have become emperors at my age," Tucker said calmly. In the tender voice, the heavy and steady tone made Zilur dare not underestimate the gravedigger of the Demon King's tomb. "How did you do it?" "It was luck." Zilur didn't quite believe it, but from Carlos' description, the opening of the Demon King's sealed door was really a matter of luck. "Then, what is your purpose?" Zilur asked the key point. Tucker thought for a long time before speaking. Did Carlos tell you?" "What?" Zilur frowned slightly. "I want to be his brother-in-law, such an important thing. Didn't Carlos tell you?" Tucker's face was not red, and he looked like a man who didn't speak in secret. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. C-level talent, really see. Plans are never as fast as changes. Tucker's original plan was to get in touch with Carlos, then get to know Hiller, and then get in touch with the tower. However, the system was too powerful. His talent transformed on the spot. Afterwards, Tucker hid and broke through, and was discovered by Lord Aubrey. Now, he has already reached the tower. Now, I want to contact you through Carlos, and then contact the tower. It will cause some unnecessary vicious troubles. However, Tucker does not mind the benign troubles caused by active guidance. After all, Tucker came for this. Tucker's heroic charge made Hiller stunned. Immediately, Hiller carefully examined Tucker. Seeing this, Tucker was a little stunned. Could it be that she is really thinking about this problem? After a moment, Hiller said seriously. "In fact, there are quite a few men pursuing me. But, you are the first one who is so brave to charge forward. Although you are a little young, if you can show enough ability, maybe I will consider it." After thinking for a while, Zilur spoke again. "Carlos said that you are amazingly powerful and your level is improving very quickly. Now it seems to be true. When we first met, you were only level 12, but after a day of baptism, you have reached level 18. And, your source energy is even purer than I thought." When Zilur explained, Tucker kept listening. Tucker now masters SSS level, precision correction. Although the correction of the outside world still needs to be maintained in order to continue to correct. But for himself, Tucker can correct his own veins however he wants. Even. It is no problem to converge his own level, wizard aura, and source energy fluctuations. But if you do that, if you meet a top-level strong man, it will be a case of trying to cover up the truth. So, Tucker restrained all his truly powerful characteristics. He slightly restrained the unimportant parts. Others could only see what Tucker wanted them to see. Your level is rising fast, and your source energy is pure, but these are not the focus of today's conversation. Zilur explained. The point is, Carlos said that your accuracy is somewhat amazing. And, when you were baptized, I went to visit Lord Aubrey. The baptism certificate you carry is given by Lord Aubrey. I just asked at the door and found out. This is not considered prying into any secrets. Ziller smiled. Of course. Tucker shrugged. Lord Aubrey is a necromancer with rich experience and admirable skills. My teacher once told me that if it weren't for Lord Aubrey's army of undeads guarding the passage, the underground kobolds would definitely be a big problem. When I visited Lord Aubrey, I never saw Lord Aubrey praise someone so highly. And Lord Aubrey, he was full of praise for your precision. He even asked me to get to know you better. Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly. This woman is really thoughtful. Fortunately, what I said just now was not the truth, otherwise, the steam rails would have run over my head. So, Tucker sat up a little straighter and said, what do you want to express? I want to see how powerful your precision is. Ziller explained his purpose. It is real precision. Ziller added. Real precision. Tucker smiled. Do I have to tell you that I can see at a glance that you have a B-level extraordinary talent and an A-level steam extraordinary talent? Yes. Ziller not only has a B-level extraordinary talent, but also an amazing A-level steam talent. When they first met, Tucker had already seen the veins of two different extraordinary characteristics of A-level and B-level from the veins of steam source energy emanating from the other party. As the upgrade sequence, the version answer, the trendsetter of the times, the steam sequence. When the steam upgrade is completed, a steam talent will be awakened. As for the level of steam talent that can be awakened, it depends on your own talent. Obviously, Ziller's extraordinary talent is really high. He awakened the top E-level extraordinary talent. When the steam was upgraded, he even obtained the A-level extraordinary talent. Ziller, who is unique in the Lamore Tower city-state, is highly valued by the Lamore Wizard Earl and is focused on training. He is more exaggerated and amazing than the outside world knows. In fact, my extraordinary talent is really only C-level. Tucker spread his hands. As for the hidden extraordinary talent, I don't know either. If you really want to know, I don't mind showing it. Tucker's open and generous statement seemed to be somewhat inconsistent with her brother Carlos's description of extremely dark heart and extremely cruel means. How to show it? Ziller asked. Tucker pointed to the clockwork cat puppet and said, this little guy is very flexible. Of course. It is a strange creature from the puppet ecology, and it is very smart. Tucker casually pulled out a piece of parchment, squeezed it into a small ball, and then shook it. Tell it that I can easily hit it. Clockwork creatures like this that have left the puppet ecology must establish a master-servant relationship. Just like humans delivering food to pets. Steam sequence extraordinary people can deliver clockwork power to puppet creatures to keep them in a live state. With a master-servant relationship, naturally, the two can communicate. The veins are quickly established between the two. After a moment, the clockwork cat looked at Tucker. Meow meow, it looked very serious. Then you have to be careful. Tucker smiled. Tucker had a little source energy attached. The veins cut in, the trajectory matched, and it was done in one go. Then the small paper ball flew out of his hand. The moment Tucker let go, the trajectory of the paper ball became blurred. The next moment, the paper ball bounced on the head of the clockwork cat with a pop sound, and then fell steadily into Tucker's hand. The faint smile on Ziller's handsome face stopped on the spot. The clockwork cat hadn't even reacted yet. Why was it hit? After a moment, Ziller looked at the paper ball in Tucker's hand. The surprised expression gradually emerged, but it was quickly covered up. Can do it again. No problem. Tucker said lightly. This time, the clockwork cat jumped onto the window. The distance was about 7 or 8 meters. Be careful. Tucker shot again. This time, I don't know whether it was Ziller's order or the clockwork cat puppet learned to be smart. The moment Tucker shot, the clockwork cat puppet bounced and exploded, trying to leave the original place. But, sorry. The static veins of the clockwork cat puppet and the extension of the dynamic trajectory were perfectly controlled by Tucker. Pop! A slight sound. The head of the clockwork cat puppet that crossed the trajectory in the air was hit accurately by Tucker again. At the same time, the paper ball bounced back into Tucker's hand again. How did you do it? This time, Ziller's face was full of solemnity. If she hadn't seen this outrageous and incredible operation with her own eyes, she would naturally not believe it. You ask me, who should I ask? Tucker spread his hands with an innocent look. I just shot more accurately. You don't have to look at me like this. C-level talent, that's really C. Chapter 36. The opportunity has come. At the moment of the attack, I could hardly see the kinetic energy form of the paper ball. But what is certain is that it is definitely not a simple throw in the real dimension. A throw that arrives almost instantly cannot be achieved by pure strength. There are other extraordinary characteristics at work. At present, it looks very much like a certain phase talent. Sliver quickly summarized his guess. Entering the phase layer at the starting point of the attack, and leaving the phase layer at the landing point of the attack. It is almost a powerful talent that ignores a certain distance. Whether it is phase or not, it is certain that there must be other extraordinary characteristics at work, and this extraordinary characteristic is very strong. He really doesn't know that his ability is very powerful. Or, he knows, but pretends not to know. Looking at Tucker, who has already started to play with the cat, Sliver is sure of one thing. That is, what his brother Carlos said is correct. Tucker, this guy, always does something outrageous when you think he's ordinary. It's a bit outrageous. Do you know that your ability is very powerful? Sliver said slowly. What do you think? Tucker responded lightly. So, you should have developed this special talent to match your shooting method. Sliver asked again. Of course. Tucker nodded again. Combining what she saw in front of her, and what Carlos told her before that Tucker killed a second-level human-faced stone snake ghost with 2 shots when he was an apprentice wizard. Sliver already had a rough judgment in her mind. Maybe it can play a significant role. But the overall strength remains to be seen. Even, he can participate in the underground trip. After a moment, Sliver looked at Tucker and said formally. I still have some say in the tower. If you need anything, you can come to me at any time. Tucker thought about it seriously and said. I really need your help right now. Can you help me prepare a list of information about the high-level towers, important tower members, and many apprentices? Tucker opened his mouth with an extremely outrageous request. If this request was made to Lord Aubrey, Tucker would be suspected of being a follower of the evil god on the spot. But even if it was made to Hiller still looked at Tucker with a very strange look. Fortunately, Tucker had shown enough sincerity before. After thinking about it, Hiller slowly said, it can only be simple information. Simple's enough. Tucker nodded in response. High tower area. High towers of varying heights stood on the bloody embers. Tucker glanced at the sun of ashes. It was about to end. And the moon of ashes was already above the sky, ready to go. Coldness inexplicably surged in Tucker's heart. In this land of ash, even the tower is not safe. Tucker walked quietly through the bloody tower world and took a deep breath towards the Tower of the Dead. Tucker had already read the information given by Sliver. When he was offering sacrifices, Tucker sensed that there was a base of evil gods in the tower area. And through this baptism of source energy, 2 guys who were suspected to be evil god believers were caught by Tucker. One of them was the guy who secretly followed Carlos. And the other one, when the extraordinary characteristics of the source pool, nurture, were poured into the sequence ecology, the guy's subtle dark sun characteristics were leaked out and was caught by Tucker. Tucker encountered 2 during this baptism alone. There is no doubt that the members of the evil god organization Dark Sun Church have not only taken root in the tower, but also deeply. Because of this, Tucker dared not move and could only track it secretly. After all, if it was really touched, who dared to be sure that the Lamore Tower was not contaminated by the evil god? Many city-states will not have the slightest sign before the outbreak of terror and pollution. Moreover, this time, a genius member of the A-level evil god organization came to the Lamore Tower city-state. There is a problem with the Lamore Tower city-state. And what Tucker has to do is to improve his strength and ensure his own safety in this complicated situation. If he can destroy the plan of the Dark Sun Church, Tucker will not hesitate to give him a hard kick. Even the opportunity to give him a hard kick will come soon. Not long after, Carlos appeared in the corner of the shadow. That guy is the son of a night guard of the Lamore Wizard Baron. His name is Ambs. Carlos, who was traveling with Tucker, lowered his voice. He has average talent, but there are many such people in the tower area. After the baptism, the guy turned around and seemed to be looking for someone. The target is most likely me. It is indeed worthy of suspicion. Should we catch him and ask him? Carlos suggested. We are not qualified to arrest people in the tower. Tucker shook his head. Didn't you say that the guy's father was a knight of Count Lamore? Yes. Very good, tell your sister should be able to handle it well. In the tower, Tucker was alone, and naturally did not dare to touch those powerful beings. If Tucker was not careful, he might die in vain. But Zilur was different. As a brother-supporting demon, Zilur could not ignore her brother when he was threatened. Yes. Got it. Carlos nodded carefully. Last time, he followed Tucker to complete the excavation of the Demon King's tomb. After he took the credit, he asked Zilur to report it, but he did not get less rewards. This time source pool baptism is one of them. Follow Tucker and you will have meat to eat. He is still very clear about such a simple and straightforward truth. And this time, the opportunity seems to be coming again. Looking at Carlos's back as he left, Tucker rubbed his eyebrows. Sending them to follow Carlos directly is a simple and crude method. Even if we dig deeper, we probably won't find any clues. On the contrary, killing that guy will make the hidden beings in the tower more cautious. At the same time, it will also make Carlos safer. It can be regarded as a reward for the information given by Zilur. I hope there will be some good news from Amandi. When Tucker returned to the undead tower, Amandi still had no information to send back. This made Tucker frown slightly. Let her do such a thing, there won't be any mistakes. Although this baptism has promoted her level by 2 levels and reached level 26. But that guy, the Dark Knight priest named Tanaru, is not a good person either. His level has also reached level 25. With this in mind, Tucker waited quietly at the entrance of the undead tower. And this wait lasted for more than 3 hours. When a black dragonfly of the undead landed silently beside Tucker, Tucker was relieved. Not long after, Amandi came over. After the priest finished his baptism, he left the high tower area. The priest seemed very cautious, and even went to the tavern in the underground nest area and stayed there for an hour. I used the dragonfly to follow the priest all the way, and finally the priest entered a house in the bunker area. This is the priest's address. Amandi handed over the note with a house number. Bunker area. Tucker was slightly shocked when he took the note. According to the information Tucker had, the priest, named Tanaru, was an ordinary high tower apprentice with good talent. Normally, Tanaru should live in the high tower. Now, the Grey Night period is coming, and Tanaru should study in the high tower. But Tanaru went to the bunker area. Strictly speaking, there is nothing to doubt about this. But the genius of the A-level Evil God organization is in the bunker area. Moreover, it is possible that he will be upgraded during this Grey Night period, the coldest time of the Night of Ashes. This Tanaru is very likely one of the people who participated in the ceremony. After all, Tanaru also believed in the Dark Sun. With this in mind, Tucker looked at Amandi. Get ready, in the next 2 days, the adventure is about to begin. Is it about to begin? Amandi was a little surprised. But, doesn't it usually start on the Grey Day? In 2 days, we will enter the Grey Night period. That's right, the Grey Night period is when the prey really takes action. Tucker said slowly. Chapter 37, Everything Except Ecology as Anchor. Undead Wizard Tower, 2nd floor of basement. On the meditation seat in the corner of the house, Tucker used the Origin Dark Sea to absorb source energy and recover quickly. While his heart was calm, a little joy was beating in his heart. The recovery efficiency of Origin Dark Sea is really amazing, almost 3 or 4 times that of the Undead Tower. At the same time, the source energy is much purer than that of the Undead Tower. Before, I thought that if I could carry the source energy tower to adventure, I would not lack source energy. Now, I soak in the Origin Dark Sea all the time, and the effect is better than carrying the tower. I don't worry about lacking source energy when I cast spells normally. While meditating and recovering, Tucker opened the attribute panel. Check the comprehensive results of this Steam Tower Source Pool Baptism. Superb Sequence, Wizard, level 18. Origin Dark Sea, level 18. Superb Talent, Precision, SSS level 1020%. Supernormal Witchcraft Ability, Sheep Transformation, Ability, level 19. Touch Perception, Ability, level 19. Light Shaping Spear, 2-star, level 19. Bullet Tentacles, level 19. Bloodthorn Vine, level 19. Source Scale Shield, level 19. Fire Oil, level 19. Wind Run, level 19. This baptism, Tucker hoarded a lot of source energy experience. And the next battle may not be easy. Tucker naturally upgraded all his witchcraft abilities to the peak level of the 1st level. The Dark Sea of Origin. Tucker's original plan was to upgrade it to the 2nd level. In this way, he would be able to control the more powerful source energy of the supernormal characteristics in advance. But Back to the Tower of the Dead, when Tucker upgraded the Dark Sea of Source Energy, he found that the carrying capacity of his wizard ecology seemed to be reaching its limit. After a careful review, Tucker found the problem. That is, he upgraded too fast. The wizard tree and the ecology maintained by the wizard tree do not have enough time to run in, adapt, stabilize, and balance. All ecosystems need time to run in. Even if Tucker uses the system to upgrade, it is the same. What's more, after the baptism of the source pool, it needs to absorb, digest, and settle for a period of time. After thinking it through, Tucker did not force the level to increase. Instead, the level of Dark Sea of Source Energy stopped at the same level as the wizard level. After examining the witchcraft ability and his own level, Tucker stopped his sight on the extraordinary talent, precision, correction. Vaguely, it seems to have touched the ceiling. Tucker thought to himself. After the extraordinary talent was increased to 1000%, Tucker still had a lot of fragments. After coming back, Tucker continued to improve. But at this time, the system prompted. For a talent increase of more than 1000%, 2 fragments are required to increase by 1%. In other words, the increase in the value of extraordinary talents above 1000% is a whole new level. This can be seen in the transformation of the extraordinary talent from precision to precision, correction. After Tucker increased from 1000% to 1020%, he found that the effect of the increase was negligible, and even said that there was no increase. Obviously, the characteristics of correction are not the height that a first-level wizard can touch 1000%, this is the ceiling that Tucker can play. And this is enough. Carefully experiencing his baptism and the subsequent slight increase, Tucker exhaled lightly. He took out the ashes clock from the inner pocket of the wizard robe. The scale on it is almost close to the intersection of the gray day and the gray night. It's almost time, and it's about time to change the shotgun to a cannon. Immediately, Tucker stood up and walked towards the floor above the undead tower where Lord Aubrey was. The more than 600 magic golds prepared before will now begin to play a role. In the dark and silent house, Aub put down the old book in his hand. He looked at the visiting Tucker. After a moment, he nodded carefully, and a hoarse voice sounded. Yes, your level is increasing much faster than I thought. Amanti also has quite good gains. It seems that this baptism has a good effect. However, too fast level increase will make your wizard tree unstable and the ecology unbalanced. Yes. Tucker nodded carefully. As an experienced necromancer, Aubrey has profound attainments in the extraordinary ecology. Time. Aubrey gave a solution. It can effectively run in the wizard ecology and make it stable. But stability alone is not enough. For example, Aubrey closed the book in his hand, and his slightly withered fingers supported the whole book. Huh? Aubrey blew gently. Pa. The book fell on the desk. Then, Aubrey picked up the book again and propped it up with 3 fingers. This time when he blew again, the book stopped there steadily. Did you see it? Aubrey asked in a hoarse voice. Yes, I see. Tucker nodded. The triangle is stable. Aubrey's eyes twitched, and he took a deep breath. He spoke in a low and slightly reprimanding tone. It's balance. It's a fragile balance and a stable balance. A living organism is an ecosystem. Your wizard sequence is also an ecosystem. When you break through and advance, the external extraordinary characteristics enter your own sequence ecology, which is equivalent to a biological invasion. If your ecology is stable in a fragile balance, even if it is just an ordinary extraordinary characteristic, it will cause your own extraordinary sequence to collapse. At the least, the breakthrough fails and the level regresses. At the worst, it loses control on the spot and the sequence collapses. I think you must have seen a lot of out-of-control situations. Tucker nodded. But, if the balance of your ecology is as stable as the Earth, ordinary characteristics will come in and be absorbed and digested by you in the future, just like eating and drinking water. At this time, you are qualified to absorb elite materials, leader materials, and even amazing lord materials. In this way, you are qualified to become a great wizard. And now, Aubrey's tone gradually eased. Thanks to your level surge, your wizard ecology is as fragile as a piece of paper. Yes, I have felt it. Tucker did not make any excuses for this. After all, Tucker just felt that the carrying capacity of his wizard ecology was close to the limit. We wizards have the ability to explore the essence of sequence ecology. The stability of the sequence is what we wizards should pursue. In this way, We can see higher and go further. I understand, teacher. Tucker nodded. Next, I don't plan to continue to upgrade my level. Instead, I will absorb and grow the characteristics of the wizard tree itself and the characteristics of the wizard ecology. At the same time, I will seek more anchors to make my wizard ecology more stable. It would be best if everything except the ecology is anchors. Although Aubrey did not formally recruit Tucker as an apprentice, but he is indeed a good teacher to Tucker. Hearing that Tucker knew what he should do, Aubrey nodded slightly. Right now, Lamore is not safe. Raising the level first can also be regarded as strengthening the ability to protect oneself. This time you come to me, tell me, what's the matter? After all, the old ginger is still the spicier. Aubrey already knew what Tucker was here for. Walking forward, Tucker handed over the parchment that he had prepared long ago. Aubrey's pupils shrank slightly when he saw it. This kid, what is he going to do? Then, Aubrey put away the parchment, stood up and said, "Come with me." Chapter 38, Second Order Rune Shadow Ring Staff. The cold and spacious hall. Gaga. Gaga. On the skeleton railing outside the glass window, undead ravens were perched there. The green luster of their undead souls and fire allowed Tucker to barely see the surrounding situation with normal vision. In front of Aubrey, Tucker did not dare to open the precise vision randomly. After all, the place he came to this time was Lord Aubrey's personal supernatural treasure house. There were many things that would be fine if he didn't look at them, but would cause trouble if he looked at them. Even if there were no legendary, taboo items here. However, those strong pollutants with special supernatural properties could not be looked at casually. Ka. Lord Aubrey pushed open the magic door in the mural in the hall. Tucker took a look. Inside was a monster treasure chest the size of a suitcase. It is said that there are some wild monster treasure chests on some plains deep in the Ashland. And the monster treasure chest in front of him was obviously kept by Lord Aubrey. From the action of licking his teeth and lips, Tucker saw that the fangs and tongue of the monster treasure chest were filled with a lot of magic gold veins. It seems that this guy has eaten a lot of magic gold. Tucker thought secretly. With the spell of Lord Aubrey, the power of shadow began to spread around the monster treasure chest. This time, one of Tucker's requests to Lord Aubrey was a second-level shadow ring staff. The power of shadow is not easy to control. Continuous use of shadow power will continuously consume source energy. In addition, frequent use of shadow power is easy to provoke creatures in the shadow dimension layer. So, there are not many people who are willing to master and contact the power of shadow. Even in the extraordinary sequence, there are very few shadow sequences. The shadow power that others stay away from is just the ring staff medium that Tucker has been exploring and deducing during this period, which is the most suitable for him to exert his power. Shadow power is not easy to control. This is simply a match made in heaven for Tucker. With SSS Extreme, Precision, Correction, there is nothing that Tucker cannot control stably. Exerting shadow power will continue to consume energy. Tucker's original Dark Sea can easily maintain the consumption of shadow power. As for the long-term use of shadow power, it will provoke the sneak attack of creatures in the shadow dimension. Tucker thinks that it is more appropriate to change the word sneak attack to send to death. After solving many drawbacks, the characteristics of shadow will be multiplied in Tucker's hands. Not long after, the monster treasure chest opened its mouth and spit out a group of black shadows. At the same time as the black shadow appeared, buzz! An extremely strong shadow rune power descended. Tucker is no longer the 9th level apprentice wizard he was before. Facing the suppression of this unactivated rune power, Tucker can easily resist it. But the type of this rune power made Tucker's heart move slightly. Shadow rune. All I want is a normal shadow wand. How come there is a rune shadow wand? I'm afraid it will cost more. The one that restrains the power of shadow is already very rare and expensive. Add to that the powerful shadow rune. That's not something Tucker can afford. A large number of dense shadow threads and tentacles rapidly grew and climbed along the ground. Walls, floors, stone pillars, glass. The light was quickly drawn away, and the dimension of shadow was spreading. The undead crews outside noticed something strange in the house, and made a sharp cackle cry, flapping their wings to leave here. Shadow is coming. Tucker glanced at the undead wizard Aubrey. But he found that Lord Aubrey had no intention of taking action at all. Tucker had a little understanding in his mind, and he was ready to take action immediately. I thought you were the shadow, so I'll give you some light. However, Thinking about Lord Aubrey's instructions before, Tucker still suppressed the idea of performing holy light magic in front of the necromancer. Tucker just wanted to move, but found that the shadow tentacles and silk threads on the ground had submerged to the level of his calves. Tucker frowned slightly, and then suddenly exerted force. But he found that the shadow power was like a rock, locking his legs tightly. Tucker pinched his right hand slightly. The power of the red flame ring staff began to emerge. Using the ring staff to fight against a ring staff is an excellent way to collect a ring staff with a certain spirituality. A circle of red flames emerged, and the flames expanded rapidly. The shadow was quickly driven away. But this also completely angered the shadow power. A large area of shadow power quickly accumulated, forming a huge shadow wave. I want to extinguish the flame in one fell swoop. This rune shadow ring staff is more than spiritual, it is almost a spirit. Tucker didn't dare to delay. Stepping on the high-speed creeping shadows, he took 2 steps at a time and came to the side of the second-level rune shadow ring staff. Tucker suddenly reached out his hand into the dense shadow. Touched and felt. The moment he touched, Tucker's pupils were instantly occupied by the shadow. The dense threads of the shadow continued to flow out from Tucker's ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. On the side, the necromancer Aubrey, who was standing quietly, watched this scene calmly. The premise for his action was that Tucker was completely submerged by the shadow and pulled into the shadow dimension. Before that, he would not take action. Darkness. Endless. Darkness. Sinking. Endless. Sinking. Tucker only felt that he sank into the endless darkness and kept falling down. Any normal extraordinary person would probably get lost here. But Tucker, on the contrary, looked at everything around him with interest. Shadow dimension. The intersection of reality and darkness, only black and white here, highlighting a weird abstraction. But, quite interesting. A large number of incomplete images emerged in Tucker's mind. They were all broken images of the rune shadow ring staff, pulling the unlucky guy into the shadow dimension. Even if it was a shallow shadow dimension, it was not something that ordinary transcendence could contend with. Before being promoted to a mid-level transcendent and condensing one's own transcendent form, it was quite dangerous to walk in the dimension. A large number of images were fragmented, and soon Tucker found this spiritual consciousness deep in the shadow ring staff. And when that spiritual consciousness realized that it was discovered, it immediately manipulated a large number of shadows and pressed down on Tucker's body. Like a solid wave of shadows, it collapsed. Only the sound of waves hitting the ground was left. Then, all the shadow power in the hall was quickly drawn out and gathered. Finally, it condensed on Tucker's left wrist. A rune shadow ring staff with condensed shadows was formed, and the shadow runes could be vaguely seen flowing on it. I admit that you are very strong, but unfortunately, you were finally controlled by my precision, penetration. Tucker was still thinking while feeling the rune shadow bracelet on his wrist. Aubrey, who wanted to make a move, looked at Tucker with interest. He originally thought that Tucker would fail. In the end, Tucker still gave him a surprise. Moreover, compared with the situation of forcibly suppressing and storing, the shadow spirit seemed to have completely obeyed Tucker. Quite incredible. A little curious, but Aubrey did not ask more. At this time, Tucker spoke. Teacher Aubrey, this thing is too expensive, I am afraid. I can't afford it. Just follow the previous price, 120 magic gold. Aubrey did not give Tucker a chance to bargain, and directly closed the mural door with force. Thank you, teacher. Tucker bowed to thank him. The shadow ring staff is rare in itself. What's more, this is a rune shadow ring staff. More importantly, this ring staff has its own spirituality. The price of 120 magic gold, rounded up, is basically the same as getting it for free. The other thing you need, Raven will give it to you tomorrow. Also, you have to remember that the power of that thing is huge. Once you use it, the tower may come to investigate. If you can avoid it, try not to use it. If you use it, escape as soon as possible. Yes. Tucker nodded carefully. Chapter 39 The Grey Knight is coming. Tucker's more than 600 magic golds were all consumed on the ring staff and the other life-saving treasure. However, the second-level shadow ring staff originally planned for 120 magic golds became a powerful rune shadow ring staff. And Tucker just got the life-saving treasure. The treasure is more powerful than Tucker imagined. The undead raven that carried the treasure and flew over. After putting down the treasure, the feathers, bones, and its soul fire quickly withered and decayed, and then annihilated. Just to transport and carry, the level 9 raven paid all its life. It can be seen how powerful this treasure is. Perhaps, Lord Aubrey wanted to tell Tucker the danger of this treasure in this way. Of course. Tucker also knew that the characteristics of the treasure were one of the reasons why Lord Aubrey did not conduct a two-way docking of the treasure's characteristics. Underground, in the skeleton passage, Tucker sat cross-legged on the skeleton, gradually collecting his mind and recovering his source energy. After 2 or 3 hours of witchcraft experiments, Tucker has completely mastered the characteristics and detailed usage of the rune Shadow Wand. At the level of spellcasting, the Shadow Wand can mobilize source energy more concealedly. Before, I used the concealment of the red flame bracelet to mobilize source energy, which barely caught up with the natural mobilization of the Shadow Wand. Once combined with the concealment of my source energy veins and the concealment of the Shadow Wand itself. When it comes to sneak attacks, when it comes to preemptive strikes, I have an absolute advantage. Secondly, with the blessing of the shadow characteristics, the source energy is stimulated to a greater extent. The effect and strength of witchcraft have also been greatly improved. Then, it's the characteristics of this rune Shadow Wand itself. Tucker's previous red flame wand could naturally condense flames and absorb heat energy to help Tucker resist the cold in the night of ashes. As a basic ring staff, the red flame wand is very suitable for the land of ashes. And the Shadow Wand is amazing. The Shadow Wand itself has 3 very practical functions. They are Shadow State, Shadow Robe, and Shadow Travel. Shadow State: the holder of the Shadow Wand can enter a certain shadow state, with the characteristics of fast movement, which can be exempted from certain damage, and at the same time will bear more light damage. Shadow Robe: the combination of Shadow Power and Wizard Robe can form an effective defensive force. Shadow Travel: the Shadow State can exert the ability of Shadow Travel. The nature of Shadow is the reason why Tucker wants to master the Shadow Wand. After Tucker's attempts, these 3 abilities, in Tucker's hands, let Tucker have the flexibility comparable to the Blood Clan sequence. Tucker's baptism and transformation this time, his own strength has increased amazingly. Then he got this top-level equipment. It's like adding wings to a tiger. At this time, Tucker has a Shadow Wand on his right wrist, and a red flame bracelet, red flame wand, on his left wrist. You can't wear 2 witchcraft wands on one wrist, in case the 2 wands conflict when the source energy responds. At the least, the one-armed wizard achievement will be unlocked on the spot. At the worst, it will explode on the spot. Carry one in each hand, there is no conflict, then there is no problem. Tucker sat cross-legged quietly waiting. Soon, footsteps sounded from the depths of the skeleton cave. A mantis, wearing a white and blue plaid palace dress, stepped on the skeleton and approached quickly with agility. As the level of the extraordinary increases, the soul, perception, physique, flexibility, balance, etc. will continue to grow. His eyes swept across a mantis' white and blue plaid palace dress. We are going to kill people, not to attend a dance. Tucker frowned slightly, but after thinking about it carefully, he was relieved. Anyway, Tucker will definitely kill a lot of people in this round of Grey Night period. In this case, the palace dress that blooms in blood in the killing may be able to deter some people. The form is not important, what is important is the essence. Are you ready? Tucker's voice is low and hoarse. It is completely different from the previous voice. A mantis was startled. Ah. Does the voice have to change too? Tucker paused for a second on the slightly gorgeous court dress. No need, just talk less. Let's go. Silently, Tucker activated the shadow ring staff. Buzz. Darkness and shadows gathered, infiltrated into Tucker's wizard robe and gathered on Tucker's body. When Tucker put on the wizard hood, the whole person was slightly suspended. Like a cold death god who harvested life. Shadow state is a natural suspension state, although it will continue to consume source energy slightly. But this suspension state allows Tucker to effectively cross various muddy grounds, water surfaces, and some complex terrains. Taking out the glass lantern, Tucker threw a kerosene bomb into it. Source energy transformation, plus Tucker raised the level of kerosene magic to level 19. Today's kerosene bombs have extremely high density. If the combustion efficiency is controlled well, they can burn for a long time. The only disadvantage is that the lantern is relatively useless. After all, the necromancer was behind, and Tucker couldn't lead the way with holy light in front. Amanda, who was following Tucker, covered herself in the necromancer gray fog, and followed silently by using the diffuse characteristics of the necromancer gray fog. At the same time, Tucker's operation was also remembered by her. Witchcraft means, combined with daily life, can be used if it can be used. The two of them were one in front and one behind. Deep in the passage, they quickly chased the lanterns. Underground street, obsidian material store. A large number of lanterns illuminated the inside and outside of the house. Old Calm, who was leaning on the long-backed chair, looked at Tucker and then at the necromancer behind Tucker. Danger. This is the feeling that the necromancer gave Old Calm. However, thinking about what Tucker might have done before, Old Calm felt that it was obviously a wise choice for Tucker to find such a second-level necromancer as a bodyguard. This is your wizard robe? Old Calm handed over the wizard robe modified from the black and gray alchemy robe. You haven't appeared for such a long time, I thought you would never come again. Tucker heard the hidden meaning in his words. Just tell me if you have any news. It's okay. He glanced at the second-level undead wizard shrouded in the gray fog of the undead. Old Calm chuckled twice, and then said, some time ago, someone picked the headquarters of the Hunter Guild, which is also the core area for the Dark Sun Church to hunt wizards. That mysterious man is very strong and killed the bloody alchemist of the Hunter Guild silently. When the body was found, it had been gnawed by rats and only the sheep skeleton was left. Also, the leader of the Hunter Guild also died next to the altar. Even, the rituals of the Dark Sun Church were destroyed. This made the members of the Evil God organization extremely angry. At this point, Old Calm grinned, his gold teeth shining. This turmoil has made the members of the Evil God organization much more obedient. But the Evil God organization obviously has no intention of stopping. While they are quietly investigating, they also bought a lot of ritual materials during this gray day. I guess they are probably going to perform some mysterious ritual again. The content of Old Calm's explanation is full of information. Combined with the information Tucker has mastered, a general outline gradually emerges in his mind. It feels like a giant beast that is about to be born, or has been born, circling the Lamore Tower city-state in the dark. Before, Tucker thought that time could be pushed back. But now it seems that time is probably not on his side. We must speed up the action. The Lamore Tower city-state is where Tucker has developed steadily. Tucker does not allow anyone to destroy it. Moreover, before Tucker's wizard ecology is stable enough, once the ecology of the Lamore Tower city-state on which he depends for survival is destroyed, Tucker will also be hit hard. This guest who has come from afar, do you need to sell or buy anything? Tucker was thinking, but suddenly heard Old Calm greet Amanda politely and implicitly. It's broken. Tucker was about to stop him. No, thank you. A calm and elegant clear voice sounded. Hearing the voice, Old Calm laughed. A high-level, young woman, well-dressed, and polite. As soon as Amanda spoke, she exposed the fact that she was most likely from the tower. I think you must be the apprentice of the great necromancer Aubrey. Old Calm continued to flatter. Yes, Master Aubrey is a knowledgeable and respectable existence. Amanda didn't think there was any problem with this compliment, even if it exposed her true identity. Seeing that Old Calm wanted to use this compliment to explore more information. But he saw Tucker's cold eyes cast over. Old Calm laughed dryly. If every young person is as kind as this beautiful girl. Old Calm sigh was interrupted by Tucker. Then you old jackals will eat us to the bone. At this time, Amanda realized that he seemed to have let the cat out of the bag. While feeling annoyed, Tucker's previous reminder also emerged in his mind: talk less. Tucker stood up and took the two lanterns in front of Old Calm. Two people, naturally two lanterns. Where are we going? Amanda asked after leaving the door. The outline in his mind was gradually becoming clear. Tucker took out the ash clock and looked at it. It was very close to sunset. Bunker area. Tucker put away the ash clock, looked at the darkness ahead, and spoke softly. Chapter 40, if you can attack by surprise, never force your way in. The Gothic architecture of ashes is like a grotesque dancer twisting its body. After performing its last dance in the last ray of bloody light, it freezes as the blood falls. The night is rising. The ash moon, which has long been in the sky, can't wait to sprinkle the cold light of magic all over the earth. The cold that penetrates into the bones willfully dispels the last bit of warmth left by the ash day. The ash day and the ash night change almost instantly. With the arrival of the cold, The entire Lamore Tower city-state fell into deathly silence. Under the twisted trees, Tucker merged with the shadows. The moonlight of the ash moon fell in patches. Tucker gradually completed the matching of the characteristic ability of the Shadow Ring Staff Shadow Curtain Robe with a second-level wizard robe that he had just obtained. The effect of the second-level robe is really good. Whether it is defense, concealment, or natural absorption of source energy, it is quite outstanding. Have you found anything? Tucker, who felt that the time was about right, asked slowly. 2 undead dragonflies, which were almost imperceptible to the breath of death, landed in the bushes. Amanti hid aside. The whole house is equipped with energy barriers, and the defense capability is not weak. It also comes with an alchemical alarm device. We can hardly sneak in. At the same time, there are signs of fire in the fireplace, the food on the table is messy, there is someone but I can't find him, maybe there is an illusion on the window. The small single-family bunker villa across the road is the final destination of Tanaru that Amanti was tracking. Tucker wanted to use precise visual insight. But there was a barrier interference there, and Tucker couldn't see too much. If he got closer, he could see more clearly. But Tucker dared to guarantee that as long as he dared to get close, there would definitely be a powerful spell on his face. The evil god believers would not talk about martial ethics with him. Using the undead dragonfly to get close, he collected a lot of information quietly. After this careful insight, even Amanti found something wrong. After all, even a normal wizard would not have such a large-scale arrangement. Moreover, that Tanaru is just a night priest. Unless, there is some unspeakable secret inside. The big fish is inside. It depends on how we can effectively catch it. Tucker whispered. You drive a few ghosts and go underground to see if there is an underground passage. With such a good helper like Amanti, it is a waste not to use it. Moreover, as a student of the tower, Amanti has many methods. Moreover, Tucker is not in vain. These pre-war preparation details are all Amanti's experience of growth. After a while, the ghost came back. Amanti responded, there is no underground passage. Very good, you use your undead territory to cover the entire house, so that you can prevent people in the house from escaping and cover up the sound of the battle at the same time. How do you know I have the undead territory? Amanti said in astonishment. The undead territory is the ability of the necromancer that she is most proud of. It was because of this ability that she was favored by Mentor Aubrey. Moreover, Mentor Aubrey had told her, this ability is very important, and you must not tell others easily. But Tucker told it directly. Just tell me if you have it. Tucker said softly. Yes. Amanti nodded carefully. Then arrange it, and be as careful as possible, so that the people in the house don't notice it. Looking at the dark cloud floating above his head, Tucker whispered. Amanti also noticed the change in brightness, and quickly cooperated with the dark cloud to start the arrangement of the undead territory. With a haze of the clouds, the undead territory slowly closed, and finally, it enveloped the entire house. It was like a huge net bag, covering the prey. At this time, Tucker walked out of the shadow of the big tree. Pay attention to the surrounding situation. If you encounter danger, run away first, don't worry about me. After saying that, Tucker floated towards the house like a shadow ghost. Obviously, the place you are going to is more dangerous, but you still tell me to be careful. Amanti nodded, and immediately realized that there might be members of the Dark Sun Church outside to meet them. Following Tucker all the way, she learned a lot. When she came out alone, even if she was shrouded in the gray fog of the undead, there would always be people staring at her. But, following Tucker, the cold temperament and the vague deterrence, other extraordinary people dare not even look at him twice. There is no doubt. Even in the underground street, Tucker's performance is absolutely a tough guy. Amanti is like a sponge, quickly learning from Tucker. Become a tough guy as quickly as possible. Only in this way can you live longer and become stronger in the dangerous extraordinary world. The undead realm is a big net to prevent fish from escaping. It is also a cover for Tucker to get closer. After quickly getting closer, with the help of Amanti, Tucker successfully passed through the undead realm. Touching the wall, Tucker climbed along the wall to the top of the building like a gecko. If he can sneak attack, Tucker will never force his way in. Shadow State gives Tucker a strong ability to cross terrain. Touching perception. As Tucker climbed, he quickly touched the spirit wall. This is just a very thick wall, moisture-proof and warm. Information emerged. When Tucker went deeper. Hiss. Hiss. Loud hiss. A low murmur sounded slightly. The world in front of Tucker quickly twisted and spun. Then, the low murmur intensified in Tucker's ears, as if to drag Tucker into it. Bang! The trajectory of the vein level was directly broken. Tucker broke free from the further contamination of the mysterious power. But even so, Tucker's temples still beat from time to time, like needles. Touching the spirit perception is useful. But sometimes, it can also cause trouble. Fortunately, with the SSS level precision as a backup, Tucker is qualified to try and fail. With a spell in his right hand, the shadow ring staff on his right arm responded. A precise delivery. A vine as thick as an arm, covered with blood-colored thorns and barbs, appeared above the window on the first floor on the lower right. With a hum, the blood sacrifice vine hit the source energy barrier that was already coupled to the window glass. After releasing a blood-thorn vine, Tucker quickly climbed and walked on the wall eaves and came to the other side of the wall. He released another blood-thorn vine. With a shadow state blessed by the rune shadow ring staff, Tucker exerted his flexibility to the extreme, and his main feature was his elusiveness. One after another. After a while, more than a dozen vines, like beating drums, were frantically beating against every glass on the periphery of the house. It was as if a huge vine monster had surrounded the entire house. But soon, the means of counterattack inside the house also appeared. Wither. Tucker did not feel the source energy and spell fluctuations. But Tucker was able to follow the trajectory of the spell veins, and withering came. The bloodthorn vines that were thrown in the direction of the gate were withering rapidly. And the withering speed was extremely fast. In 2 or 3 breaths, a bloodthorn vine died just like that. Then the second, the third. The rapid death of the bloodthorn vines was not important, because they had completed their mission, which was to confirm the position of the enemy. Close to the gate. Since you are in front, I will go in from behind. Thinking about it, Tucker had already arrived at the attic window on the top of the back of the building. Shaping light spear. Tucker suddenly pinched the void. Buzz! The power of light burst out vigorously in Tucker's palm. At the moment it bloomed, Tucker slammed it on the source energy barrier. The effect of the ultimate control of the 2-star witchcraft shaping light spear was highlighted at this time. A ring-shaped shaping light spear was hid into the energy barrier by Tucker. As the shaping light spear expanded, Tucker opened a big hole in the energy barrier. Tucker floated in silently like a ghost. Without the defense of the source energy barrier, I want to see how you struggle. Tucker entered the house, twisted his neck slightly, and showed a bloody and hideous smile. Chapter 41. 1 pastor, 2 sheep. Damn it. That wizard seems to have come in. A knight near the window screamed loudly. Impossible, we have guarded the window, and his vines are being dispelled by my withering. He can't come in before the energy barrier is broken. At this time, although the face of the Dark Knight priest Tanalu was ugly, he still believed in the source energy barrier he had set up. I saw that there seemed to be a circle of light in the attic window on the 3rd floor behind, and it seemed that a black shadow floated in just now. He is just a wizard, not a vampire, he can't fly. Tanalu scolded angrily, and that circle of light is just the shadow of the ash day. But there is no ash day now. The knight explained honestly. Tanalu, who was furious with the knight, walked over angrily. He roared as he walked. In this land of ashes, sometimes, the halo of ashes can stay on the glass for a whole month. And there is no circle of light there at all. Tanalu came to the glass and pointed to the window outside, scolding loudly. Knight Raymond looked up and glanced. The place where the light circle was before was empty. Disappeared. I swear. Raymond was about to swear on Dave's life that he was definitely not mistaken. But looking at Tanalu, who was on the verge of going berserk, he finally shrank his neck. Maybe I was mistaken. But Raymond turned his head and still muttered in a low voice. But there was a light circle there just now. Hearing Raymond's low muttering, Tanalu really wanted to pry open the knight's head to see if it was full of weeds. Dave? Tanalu looked at another knight Dave who strictly followed his orders and guarded the gate. Lord Tanalu. Knight Dave said respectfully. Go upstairs and check if anyone came in. No one came in, Lord Tanalu. Dave, who was guarding the gate, said with great certainty. But you didn't even go up to check. Tanalu said while dispersing the vines outside, suppressing his anger. But I have been guarding the gate. I am sure that no fly has flown in. Dave was absolutely sure that no one came in through the gate. Huff. Inhale. Tanalu took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. He had suspected before that the dark sun would erode the brains of the extraordinary. Now, it has been perfectly verified in the bodies of these two knights. Feeling that the vines on the first floor had been almost cleared, Tanalu gave a new order. You two follow me up to check the second and third floors. But what if someone comes in through the gate? Dave's few brain cells came into play at this time. Then you rush down and smash his dog head. But what if it's not a dog-headed man? What if there is no dog head? Raymond muttered in a low voice. If there were no undead wizards outside, he would be watching. Tanalu had already exploded his anger. The two fully armed knights stepped on the stairs and walked up. Tanalu also restrained his anger. These two guys, although sometimes they can make people's lungs explode, but at least these two guys really dared to go up if there was danger. After going up to the second floor, Dave looked around and then shouted at the bottom of the stairs. Lord Tanalu, there is no one upstairs. Bang! The extremely deterrent gunshot interrupted Dave's words and opened his head at the same time. Yulo. Yulo. Dave's body rolled all the way down the stairs to Tanalu's heels. But even so, Knight Dave still did not die. The knight's strong physique is born like this. What's more, Knight Dave also has the innate ability of fatal immunity. Tanalu quickly drove the priest's ring staff, and a large piece of black light ball quickly fell on Knight Dave. The fatal injury recovered quickly. At the same time, Raymond instantly held up a huge thick shield. Blocked the entire staircase. Be careful, bleeding. Raymond, who had just started to speak, quickly turned the language in his mouth into a sheep's cry. Looking up, Tanalu saw a figure like the god of death floating indifferently in the stairs, and the shadow was like feathers, covering the whole body. On the stairs beside him, Knight Raymond had turned into a sheep. Tanalu felt movement under his feet. When he looked down, he saw Dave had also turned into a sheep. Both knights were early second-order knights, with levels of 23 and 24. As knights, their knightry sequence was extremely strong in resistance to witchcraft such as infiltration, suppression, and deformation. The witchcraft of wizards of the same level, or even higher than their level, would hardly have a deformation effect on them. What's more, they were not ordinary knights. But even so, the two of them had no chance to struggle in front of the Shadow Wizard. The two knights were like two toys. Although, as a Dark Knight priest, he could remove the deformation ability. But that required a long enough casting duration. Now Tanalu didn't dare to move even a little bit. Tanalu believed that as long as he made a little movement, the method in front of him was totally unscientific. It highlighted an outrageous Shadow Wizard. He could instantly open his skull. His skull was not as hard as that of the knight. A priest and a wizard confronting each other head-on would be a death sentence. Do you want to say it yourself, or, after I kill you, let your body say it? On the stairs, Tucker looked at the apprentice of the High Tower, the Dark Knight priest Tanaru indifferently. Can you live after you say it? Tanaru examined the Shadow Wizard in front of him. As a priest, you have extremely powerful abilities to release control, recover, heal yourself, and adjust the ecology. Even if you become a sheep, you can change back. I will turn you into a sheep and let you go when the time is right. The premise is that you give me a satisfactory answer. After thinking for a moment, Tanaru nodded very straightforwardly. No problem. This fence-sitter is too quick to fall. Tucker thought secretly. However, Tucker also knew. Joining the Evil Gout organization and staying loyal until death? What a joke. It is to get on board with the Evil Gout organization and secretly seek benefits. In the cruel ecology of the Ashland, there are obviously people who kill two birds with one stone. The bloody alchemist Eden Gladstone is the Evil Gout organization, and the tower eats both ends. The Tanaru in front of him is probably such a guy. It's just, the bloody alchemist Eden Gladstone has begun to sink into the dark light of the Dark Sun Church. And this guy in front of him is self-aware. He didn't completely embrace the Dark Sun Church. At least, this guy knows how to use his pastor ability to purify the pollution of the Dark Sun. I like to communicate with smart people. Tucker's tone became cheerful. Because, that way I can kill fewer extraordinary people. In this land of ash, every killing is a slight damage to the ecology, and represents a certain degree of decline. I don't want my ecology to be anchored to this piece of land. Although I like it, it doesn't mean I am willing to sleep here forever. Are you right? Tucker showed a shadowy hideous smile, and his entire shadow cheek, except for the mouth, was full of fangs. And Tanalu's entire back gradually became cold. You are right, I don't like to sleep here forever. Tanalu tried his best to act a little abnormal, so that he could deal with this perverted guy better. By the way, before we start a pleasant conversation, there's still a little trouble to solve, Tucker said, looking at the two knights who had turned into white sheep in the Black Grand Plateau Mountains. Well, you don't expect these two guys who have been heavily polluted to be transformed into Dark Sun Dusk Knights and then make a comeback. Tucker looked at Tanalu with a smile on his face. At this moment, Tanalu seemed to have turned into a stiff puppet. His bones and joints seemed to be half rusted, unable to move at all, and even his expression was frozen on his face. It seemed that his underwear was seen through by the other party. How? How is it possible? Tanalu's voice became a little hoarse and trembling, and he seemed to have lost all his strength in an instant. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Betrayal. Be decisive. It's good that you don't have such stupid and naive ideas. After all, there was someone I promised to give a complete sheep life before. He just didn't believe it. So, that guy didn't die peacefully. Sheep life? Faintly, Tanalu remembered Eden Gladstone, who turned into a sheep and died tragically some time ago. Could there be some connection? At this time, Tucker had come to the window. Outside, the dimension of the undead realm has begun to take shape. Large groups of skeletons, zombies, undead, and ghosts are ready to go. Tucker raised his hand and slapped the glass window. The glass that matched the source energy barrier rippled slightly like water waves. The aperture formed by the spear of shaping light expanded rapidly like the blood-red halo around the Son of Ash. It turns out, what Raymond said just now was true, there really is an aperture. But, how can he, a shadow wizard, master light? Tanalu was a little annoyed and regretful, but it was too late. Tucker looked at Tanalu. Since you have no hope, then, throw them both out. After all, once a distortion occurs here, it will be difficult for the Dark Sun and Dusk Knight to deal with them. Tanalu felt that his face must be very ugly at this time. This demon. Tanalu cursed in his heart. He wanted to kill his last hope with his own hands. What else could this be but a demon? But Tanalu had to do it. When Tanalu threw the first sheep out along the big hole formed by the light circle. Baa. The sheep screamed. But soon it was dragged into the undead realm by a large number of undead creatures. There, even if the distortion and mutation occurred due to the power of pollution, it was useless. There is no pollution that death cannot purify. If there is, it will only die again. When throwing the second sheep out, Tanalu silently said in his heart, Raymond, Dave, if you die and turn into an undead knight, if you want revenge, don't look for me. If you want to find someone, look for that damn shadow wizard. Tanalu was slightly stunned with such a thought. Well, the undead knight went to find the shadow wizard who walked with death and darkness. It seems that there is no revenge. Moreover, that guy was cursed by the shadow, and the shadow creatures would find him at any time. More importantly, the shadow wizard's methods are quite cruel, and the devil will probably be slapped twice. Well, you should rest in peace. Maybe this is a better destination. When Tanalu came back to his senses, there was already one more person in the room. It was an undead wizard shrouded in death and darkness, standing next to the sofa in the hall. And the shadow wizard sat down next to the sofa near the fireplace without any hesitation, and threw wood into the fireplace. That feeling didn't feel like being in a killing place at all, but like returning home. Tell me all the information you know about the Dark Sun Church in detail. Some things can be said, but some things cannot be said, or even mentioned. Otherwise, not only will I be in trouble, but you who hear the content and information will also be in trouble. At this time, Taniru also became serious. Joining the Evil Gout organization is not that simple. Those core members will not tell them too much information before they deeply embrace the Dark Sun. Fortunately, Taniru has the special ability of the Dark Knight Priest, Redemption, which can continuously save his soul, and combined with his wizard's talent ability, Purification. He has gradually touched the core position without knowing it. But the more so, the more Taniru knows the horror and terror of the Dark Sun Church. It's like a tea party in front of the fireplace in winter. Taniru organized his language and began to tell the story step by step. When he encountered the details that needed to be told, Tucker would ask him to focus on the explanation. As Taniru told the story, Amanti also truly understood for the first time. In the land of ashes, why did the Dark Sun Church dare to be so rampant? In the depths of the ashes, those fallen city-states have built tall altars of the Dark Sun. The power of the Dark Sun rises there. Whether it is the shining of the ash sun or the cold light of the ash moon, the Dark Sun will transform all power into the power of the Dark Sun ecosystem, which is supplied to many believers for absorption. There, everyone maintains the supreme faith in the Dark Sun. Everyone selflessly dedicates themselves until the end of their lives. Even the polluted humans there will spontaneously pair up and reproduce. And the life that is born, you should know what it is. The evil fallen human race. Tucker said lightly. A twisted life form born for faith? Yes. Dark Knight Priest Tanner nodded. It is the Ashland city-state that fights against the evil fallen human race. Is this how the evil fallen human race came about? Although Amandi was shocked, he still remembered Tucker's words and didn't speak. The evil fallen human race. A humanoid creature, they have night vision, strong physique, and run fast. Mastering the powerful transcendental sequence, Dark Sun. They were born for Dark Sun and died for Dark Sun. So when are they going to attack? Tucker asked. I don't know. Tanalu said very straightforwardly. I don't know if he doesn't know or can't say. Tucker pondered for a moment before speaking. What kind of impact did the death of the leader of the Hunters Guild and the sacrifice of the altar energy cause? Tucker's words made Tanalu's heart hit hard. Sure enough, it was this demon who did it. Tanalu took a deep breath and said. It delayed the promotion ceremony of that genius a lot. Well, that means. Tucker said carefully. The attack should have been delayed a lot, right? Tanalu did not confirm or refute. What Tucker saw was a default. When will the old wizard next to the A-level genius leave? Tucker's words not only scared Tanalu. It also made Amanti feel the horror of Tucker. How? Does he know everything? How? Do you know? Tanalu's voice was a little hoarse. Not only do I know the old wizard, but I also know who the genius of the A-level Dark Sun Church is, and I also know that he lives in the bunker area, and the altar is also there. Right. And there is a connection in the high tower. Although I don't know which big shot betrayed Lawmore. But after I got the information, I found some clues when I checked it carefully. By the way, the location where the real ceremony is opened, I think it should be in the high tower. Tucker's explanation made Tanalu's ears buzz and his brain go white. Damn it. Is he also a core member of the Dark Sun Church? What does he mean by telling me so much? Doesn't he want to leave someone alive? Thousands of thoughts surged into Tanalu's mind. Since you betrayed, then, you have to betray more directly. Tucker examined Tanalu and kept his palm on Tanalu's shoulder. You said. Touch the spirit, turn into a sheep, go back, and transform. The witchcraft was linked in one go. The shadowy gray fog dissipated. A face emerged. It was Tanalu himself. Then, the devil-like Tanalu smiled grimly. Dark Knight Priest Tanalu, lurking in the Evil Gat organization, beheading the A-level genius of the Evil Gat organization, detonating the altar, and destroying the Evil Gat organization's plan. This script. How about it? Chapter 43 Physical Hypnosis. No. Tanalu struggled desperately. But the word no was stuck in the air bubbles in the lungs by the broad palm, and he didn't even have the chance to struggle in his throat. Even betrayal has different levels. Low-level betrayal, just run away and disappear in the crowd, and the Dark Sun Church won't even track you down. High-level betrayal, kill the A-level genius they have focused on training, blow up the altar to destroy the invasion plan, and even give out the top powerhouses that the Dark Sun Church has been planning for a long time. The Dark Sun Church will definitely offer a reward of tens of thousands of magic gold in the black market and hunt you down madly. Even if you die, your bones will be dug out and ground into ashes. It's better to be a sheep for the rest of your life. At least, you can eat grass. Instead of having grass growing on your grave. You'd better prepare now to live on the run for the rest of your life. Cherish this time. When you look back on the past, this may be your last good time. Answer me, when will that old wizard leave? Tanalu's consciousness gradually withdrew. Faintly, there seemed to be a voice in his mind. He responded subconsciously. No. He is touching my mind. Asshole. The angry Tanalu was about to fight back. Bang. A fist as big as a casserole hit Tanalu's head hard, and Tanalu fainted on the spot. Then Tucker shook his fist. The force is just right. Use force to hit his brain with precise force. just enough to make the enemy faint and fall asleep perfectly. Tucker was very satisfied with the punch. And this punch also means that Tucker has mastered the ability of hypnosis based on his precise talent. Physical hypnosis is also hypnosis. He looked at Tucker and then at Tanalu, who was already in a coma. Amandi felt that he had gained a lot of knowledge and experience. Don't stick to the witchcraft itself, how to use it to subdue the enemy. This time, after catching this Tanalu, under the deterrence of powerful strength, this guy revealed a lot of information. The real purpose of the Dark Sun Church. Whether there is a safe gap for the A-level genius. These 2 points are the focus of Tucker's search. Tucker guessed some possibilities of the former, more purpose verification, and confirmed the approximate time. As for the latter, Tucker also got the answer. That A-level extraordinary genius is Tucker's core purpose. After Tucker sorted out a lot of information, he took away the extraordinary bracelet, wizard ring staff, and some other things carried by the Dark Knight priest Tanalu. It seems to be more than 300 or 400 magic gold. Sure enough, the extraordinary people in the high tower are richer. Unlike the extraordinary people in the underground nest area, you can't squeeze out a bit of oil and water from your body. And Tucker's eyes fell on the Dark Knight priest Tanalu. The real value is this Knight priest. Sheep transformation. The shadow bracelet was activated with Tucker's spell. Even though Tanalu is asleep, Tucker still turned him into a sheep. However, as a Knight priest, his resistance to the extraordinary characteristics was very strong. Even the white wool that Tucker had originally planned was turned into black wool by the extraordinary characteristics of the Knight priest. Black is black. Tucker didn't have any obsessive-compulsive disorder. How are those two guys? Tucker looked at Amandi. Those two knights were distorted and mutated to a certain extent in the depths of the undead territory. The power of the Dark Sun and Dusk Knights was very strong, and they contaminated and killed many skeleton warriors. However, that power did not last long, and was eventually overwhelmed by the undead creatures. Although I lost some undead creatures, those undead creatures will be able to recover on their own after a while. Use the extraordinary characteristics of those two extraordinary knights. I have constructed 2 powerful second-level undead knights. I have never captured a second-level extraordinary person alone before. Do you want to see it? Amandi was also full of smiles at this time. Whether it was the extraordinary sequence of the 2 knights themselves, or the equipment on the extraordinary knights themselves, as well as the extraordinary bracelets of the 2 knights, etc. For Amandi, it was a very good harvest. Maybe she was not short of such resources, but the harvest of this kind of spoils was more meaningful. No need. Tucker waved his hand to refuse. The extraordinary characteristics of the freshly baked undead creatures were likely to still have hatred for herself. If a fight really breaks out, it would be bad if I dismantled Amandi's skeleton in front of him. Under the shadow power, the black sheep Tanalu was swept into the shadow behind Tucker. Let's go. Tucker looked around and whispered. When he came down from the 3rd floor just now, Tucker took a look at the 3rd and 2nd floors, and there was nothing valuable. The undead territory dissipated silently. The single-family bunker building under the moonlight was as usual, calm and natural, as if nothing had happened. For the bunker area, this was just an ordinary night of ashes. Your method of summoning small undead creatures is quite powerful. Can you teach me? On the way, Tucker looked at Amandi, who was in a good mood, and Tucker made his own small request. The teacher said that you don't have the talent for undead. Amandi looked over. Are you sure you want to learn? Yes. Tucker nodded. Summoning is an extremely broad and adaptable wizard method. As for the necromancers, they are the best in this field. Tucker doesn't necessarily need to summon the undead. It's not impossible to summon normal creatures or shadow creatures. But summoning requires the foundation of summoning ability as a foundation. Learn some basic summoning abilities from Amandi. Summon some regular creatures, and use Tucker's innate abilities to assist, and the effect will be quite good. As a wizard, you don't necessarily need to be proficient in everything. But Tucker must understand the basic principles of all abilities, means and witchcraft in the wizard framework system. And summoning is a very important category. I haven't learned in vain. I also have some good abilities. If you like, I can teach you. Maybe you can also condense new sequence seeds and become your own witchcraft. Really? Amandi's eyes lit up. Of course. Tucker nodded. I want to learn your tactile perception. With this ability, I don't have to hold thick books all day long. As if she had this idea a long time ago, Amanti said it very fluently. When the time comes, I will use the book as a pillow. When the undead in my dreams wake me up at night, knowledge will flow into my brain continuously. Tucker smiled. Touch perception can indeed do this. But then you have to work hard. Touch perception is my wizard ability that awakened automatically. Just the basic learning will take a lot of time. Amanti waved his fist. I will work hard. Under the cold moonlight, shadows and death floated past a window, seemingly talking and laughing. At the crossroads, the young man with a stern face, his eyes stopped for a moment in the two shadows of shadows and death, and then he didn't pay too much attention. He has seen similar situations many times. After all, this is the city-state of Lamore Tower, deep in the land of ashes. The young man looked at the deep street. He was eager to know where his brother was. But he didn't dare to go over. After all, he was not sure whether he was discovered by the old wizard. Once it was the second encounter, the old wizard would never give him a third chance. On the other side of the street, the girl, wearing a nightgown and a little lazy, drew the curtains. Blocking the moonlight, making the room darker, can effectively help her sleep. Another boring day. Xyluer said there are good things in the Demon King's treasure. I don't know if it's true. Obviously the whole of Lamore knows that there is a Demon King's treasure there, but she won't tell me the details. It's so annoying. Well, Xyluer's letter also said that she met an interesting guy, and said he was about my age. I burned her letter paper. I clearly divined that Xyluer cared about that interesting guy, but she insisted that she was the same age as me, saying one thing and thinking another. The girl hugged the pillow and fell asleep sweetly. Outside the window, death and shadows floated by. Chapter 44 Surrender with the last bit of dignity at stake. The Tower of the Dead. In the fireplace, a red flame was burning. Tucker sat on one side near the fireplace, roasting the fire while drinking coffee from overseas plantations. Coffee, a rare commodity, has become extinct in the Principality of Syrian. Only in some overseas plantations, there are still some. It is not easy to drink it in this deep ashland. And Amanti was explaining to her mentor, Lord Aubrey. There were too many elements in this action. Tucker's narration was definitely not as convincing to Lord Aubrey as Amanti's. Moreover, Amanti's narration was really detailed. After more than 2 hours, Amanti finished telling the many situations of this outing. After listening to Amanti's narration and thinking for a long time, Aubrey slowly raised his head. He carefully examined Tucker. Tucker's methods and abilities made him amazed. Even if Aubrey did it himself, he might not be able to do better than Tucker. And he was already over 120 years old. And Tucker was not even a fraction of his age. You two did a great job. The information this time is indeed very important. We know that the Dark Sun Church has been secretly coveting the Ramor Tower city-state. We just didn't expect it to come so soon. In fact, we previously speculated that they might attack the Black River Valley Tower city-state on the east side. I will visit Earl Ramor. Even if I can't teach the Dark Sun Church a hard lesson, I can guarantee the safety of our Ramor. As for that A-level genius of the Dark Sun Church. At this point, Aubrey looked at Tucker. From beginning to end, Tucker didn't say anything about the genius of the A-level Evil Gat organization. The specific location, who it was, and even the old wizard who protected the A-level genius. No one knows these except Tucker. Aubrey, who was as clear as a mirror in his heart, slowly spoke. What help do you need? Tucker thought for a while and said. On the coldest night, when I take action, I need the gaze of the undead raven. The coldest day. It's most likely that day, if nothing unexpected happens. That is to say, the day you take action is the day when the old wizard comes to the tower to meet the traitor in the tower. Yes. Tucker nodded. A very good sign. We are almost able to catch the traitor in the tower. Aubrey said slowly. Almost? What do you mean? Tucker's eyes narrowed slightly, and it was obvious that things were not as simple as he imagined. The old wizard took a deep breath and said slowly. Do you know, on the coldest day, some powerful people from the Ashland, several other city-states, and the extraordinary city-state Saintland. They will gather on that day. And coming together, there are also many extraordinary geniuses from their forces. What? Tucker was slightly startled. It's normal that you don't know, because only a few people on the top of the tower know about this. And this also means that there is indeed a traitor in the upper echelons of the tower. And it's a traitor of my level. Maybe there's even more than one. At this point, Aubrey took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Don't tell anyone about this. That day, I will help you perform the gaze of the undead raven in the bunker area. And in return, I need to know who that old wizard is. Aubrey looked at Tucker and said. Tucker fumbled in the extraordinary storage bracelet for a while, and a sealed parchment scroll was taken out by Tucker. Old wizard, both of us have an A-level extraordinary genius from the Dark Sun Church. My sketch of the old wizard is a little worse. I dare not be too perfect. After all, beings of that level may have a strange perception of me. Besides, they are also beings of this special status, so they are more cautious. Well, you did the right thing. When facing those experienced wizards, no matter how careful you are, it is not too much. Taking the parchment scroll, Aubrey put it directly into the extraordinary bracelet without even looking at it. The coldest day will come soon. During this period, you two should be ready. If that A-level extraordinary genius comes with the old wizard, the tower will be a battlefield, and you. Don't let that super genius run away. If that A-level extraordinary genius doesn't come, I will tell you, then you can go to the bunker area to take action. Understood? Tucker nodded carefully. The bonfire in the fireplace was still burning calmly and naturally. Staring at the flickering flames. One-on-one hunting of A-level geniuses? Doing a single soldier extreme tug of war alone? No. Tucker wants all-round firepower coverage. Even though Tucker is very strong now and has a great chance to kill the genius of the Evil God organization, Tucker has no need to act alone. What Tucker needs is to kill the opponent steadily and get what he wants. Prepare layer by layer and gather many means. Tucker even asked Lord Aubrey for secret help. Tucker must make sure that there will be no mistakes. Steam upgrade, opportunity. Even in Saint Land, only a few extraordinary people are eligible to obtain it. Tucker doesn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Underground undead tower. Second floor. The hall has been tidied up. This was not done by Tucker, but by Amandi's skeletons. Cleaning, putting things away, even washing clothes and cooking, Amandi's extraordinary skeletons can do everything. This made Tucker couldn't help but praise. In fact, it is very simple to integrate the original extraordinary characteristics into ordinary skeleton creatures, so that they can transform into extraordinary skeletons and generate spirituality. This is the original words of Amandi. It can be seen that Amandi is indeed very talented in the field of necromancers. Unlike Tucker, who has learned basic summoning for a few days but cannot even do the most basic echoes of the alien world. At this time, in front of the fireplace, Amandi was listening to Tucker's detailed explanation of the basic principles of touch perception, the corresponding source energy spells, and the corresponding source energy operation. The touch perception that Amandi learned from Tucker, even if she learned it, would be a beggar's version of touch perception, which does not have a very high upper limit and cannot grow on its own. But even if it is a beggar's version, it is enough. After all, witchcraft such as touch perception is quite rare. Many people don't even have the opportunity to learn the beggar's version. As Amandi's spell, Tucker saw the veins spreading from her fingertips and then extending into the folded paper. Ah! I feel it! Amandi exclaimed. But the next moment, the source energy was a little unstable, and the veins were broken. Although it was broken, Tucker laughed. Not bad, not bad, it has been initially successful. The next step is to practice more and use it frequently. You have also made a preliminary entry into the magic of tactile perception. Amandi nodded happily and rested for a while, then concentrated again. She didn't know what was written on the paper. Tucker said that she had to use tactile perception herself. While Amandi was practicing the magic of tactile perception, Tucker came to the other side of the fireplace. Tanalu Yang was lying on the blanket with his eyes closed. It seems that you are very leisurely. Eat more, sleep more, and grow more wool. When spring comes, maybe I can use your wool to weave a wool blanket for you. Tucker's words made Tanalu Yang jump up, and he stared at Tucker. The beginning of spring? Are you kidding? I've told you everything I should and shouldn't say. I still have a chance now, I can still run away. If it's too late, there will be no chance. Tucker ignored it. Then explain your source energy barrier witchcraft to me. When I learn it, I will let you go. I've said it before, I can't do it. That's not what I arranged. Tanalu argued loudly. Tucker shrugged his shoulders and said slowly and methodically, okay, you can't. Then Tucker sat down on the sofa beside him. He took the Steam Daily with the latest editions and slowly read it. Steadily is one of the few channels for the entire Lamor Tower city-state to understand the outside world. Not long after, Tanilu finally couldn't help it. I can teach you that ritual witchcraft, but you must return my things to me. That ritual witchcraft is a powerful witchcraft that I spent almost all my resources to get. I can't give it to you for nothing. Tanilu raised his head and looked at Tucker stubbornly. To maintain the last bit of his dignity. Snap. Tucker closed the newspaper with both hands. Deal. Chapter 45 Ritual Witchcraft Barrier. Ritual witchcraft is the top crystal in witchcraft. Compared with Tucker's gesture witchcraft, which is short and fast. Ritual witchcraft highlights a long, thick and slow process. But the effect of ritual witchcraft can also be unexpectedly powerful. Through the ritual, pray to the distant Holy Spirit, and chant the ritual spell to complete the ritual witchcraft. Before, when Tucker and Amanda attacked the energy barrier of the entire house. Originally, Tucker thought it was built by the Dark Sun Church using a large number of source energy crystals and rituals. But Tucker discovered that the source energy in the energy barrier was exactly the same as that of Taniru through the energy barrier and the touch of Taniru's spirit. This is not built by consuming a large number of source energy crystals and rituals. It is witchcraft. And it is Taniru's ritual witchcraft. You know, every ritual witchcraft is basically not easily passed on. Learn the beggar version of ritual witchcraft, kill the opponent, devour the opponent's sequence crystal, and strengthen the beggar version of witchcraft into normal witchcraft. This kind of situation is not uncommon in the world of the extraordinary. Or, after learning the beggar version of ritual witchcraft, there will be some induction when the ritual spell responds, which is also a potential threat. Therefore, the world of the extraordinary is based on scrolls, or the extraordinary sequence tree nurtured in the extraordinary ecology as the core for sequence inheritance. Unless the relationship between the extraordinary people is very good, or the gap in strength is too large, otherwise, they will not easily exchange witchcraft. The extraordinary people feed on the same sequence. This is the iron-blooded lesson of the extraordinary world. Tucker has felt the source energy barrier, which is very strong. It is difficult for his conventional witchcraft to be conquered in a short time, even if what he has learned is only the beggar version. But with a correct ritual as support, the effect will not be much weaker than the original witchcraft. What's more, with a precise blessing of SSS level, maybe it is not impossible to surpass the original version. Theoretically, Tucker's learning of the other party's witchcraft will lead to his connection with Taniru in the field of mysticism. But will Tucker really leave such a disadvantage? Tucker was rubbing his fingers on the sofa. At this time, the last thread of connection between Tucker and Amanti, which was created by mutual learning of witchcraft, was being held in Tucker's hand. With the SSS level 1020% accuracy, correction, witchcraft, Tucker could cut off the connection between the outside world and himself. And because of this, Tucker dared to learn Taniru's ritual witchcraft with confidence. Otherwise, how could Tucker cause trouble for himself? Tucker did not cut off the last thread of connection created by mutual learning with Amanti. After all, Tucker did not plan to be a caveman. To get along outside, you have to talk about power and background. Isn't it better to have more friends and more ways? Hearing that Tucker was going to learn that powerful source energy barrier ritual witchcraft, Amanti couldn't help but look over. Your undead realm is more powerful than its ritual witchcraft. You don't need to learn this thing. Tucker's words made Amanti lose interest. My source energy barrier ritual is not weak. Taniru turned his head to defend. Then prove it to me. Tucker sat down in front of Tanilu and looked at him carefully. He looked at Tucker for a moment. Tanilu crouched down and began to tell the story. That is a world that believes in the wall, or the barrier. From the rituals and the firelight, you can see that the life there has a high worship of the wall. The wall protects everything they have. Tanilu elaborated in detail. The ecology of the foreign land is all kinds of strange. There are groups of life that believe in reproduction, and groups of life that believe in the wall, are normal. I don't know if there are giants in the world surrounded by the wall. Mountain giants, giant beasts titan, ancient behemoths. Any one of them can be considered. If there are. Do they have the fear of being dominated by giants? Tucker was absent while listening. As the soul power gradually becomes stronger, it is still very easy to simply do two things at the same time. From the background of the world, to the power of that extraordinary wall world, and the cohesion of various wall ecosystems. Finally, Tanilu explained the guidance of the basic source energy. and the most critical ritual preparation and ritual witchcraft spells. Candles, rock spring water, beautiful pebbles. This is the basic arrangement. 1 source stone crystal, 1 alcoholic beverage with an alcohol content of more than 75%, plus 20 grams of black swan feather powder. This is the ritual offering. Then, it is to build wall barriers of different forms according to your needs. Moreover, all-round closed barriers are the best. After all, you have that kind of powerful witchcraft, which can open the closed barriers. At the same time. At this point, Tanalu paused. The wall is also one of the anchors for the stability of the wizard ecology. That should restrict the development of the ecology. Don't close it, expand the ecological range as much as possible. In terms of understanding the sequence ecology, priests can be said to be the best in the same sequence. You know, they have the ability to maintain and restore the ecology. They are born to do this. The death of a living body is the result of the flesh ecology being unable to maintain or being destroyed. And the extraordinary people at the extraordinary level are distorted, out of control, etc. It was also his own sequence ecology that had problems. Wall, anchor. Tucker chewed it for a while and understood it a little. Whether it was his current unbalanced ecology, or to enhance the stability and strength of his wizard ecology in the future. This ritual witchcraft looked pretty good no matter how you looked at it. Remember, wait for 2 days, I will prepare the materials and try it. If it succeeds, I will let you go at the right time. You are a second-level person, so you shouldn't be too afraid of the ash moon outside the tower. Tucker asked curiously. If you don't freeze to death, at most you can squeeze with the dog-headed people, which is better than staying here. Then, do you want me to help you turn into a dog-headed person? Tucker said kindly. Can you also transform the dog-headed person? Tanalu paused. Well, not completely. Tucker said seriously. But I can turn a dog into a sheep, and when I trace it back, the veins will be built on you, so that you have a real dog head. No need. Tanalu said viciously. Although he showed his displeasure, Tucker's story frightened Tanalu. Has this guy already mastered the use of witchcraft to the point where he can do whatever he wants? Moreover, each witchcraft seems to be terribly powerful. Those witchcrafts that seem to be unable to be coordinated can also be accurately matched by him with incredible means. Directly changing a dog's head to a human head. Damn it. This is unscientific. Please give me a monthly ticket and a recommendation ticket. Chapter 46, A Master at Building Walls. 2 days later. Outside the Tower of the Dead, under a small hill of bones. A small ritual platform with a pile of bones and 3 skulls was built by Tucker. The red candlelight was not a candlelight dinner. It was a wizard's ritual. On the ritual platform, there was a source stone crystal, a cup of high-purity liquor, and 20 grams of black swan feathers. Basically, except for the source stone crystal, which is a little more expensive, the other materials are very cheap. After gradually preparing, Tucker slowly chanted the ritual spell. The great barrier that protects the world, I am your most devout believer. I am willing to dedicate my faith and pray for your coming. Your existence protects me from wind and rain. Your existence. As Tucker chanted, the wind whirlpool suddenly surged. The candle flame spread rapidly. In the flames, Tucker saw the vast and boundless Great Barrier. He saw the majestic roof that isolated the world. Even the clouds can only cry at his feet, and the stars are just his embellishment. When you stare into the abyss is also staring at you. And you stare at the majestic world barrier, the world barrier doesn't care about you at all. After a long time, Tucker retracted his gaze. Not to mention that the life forms living under its feet have developed faith in it. Even if I just watched through the ceremony, it was enough to be shocked. In the wind and fire, crystals, strong liquor, feathers, were all swept into it and disappeared. Immediately, Tucker gathered his mind and began to seek a wall that suited him. Soon Tucker had a different feeling. Deep in the large wall layer, Tucker followed the precise veins and was able to touch the deeper wall barrier. Precision correction can also play a role in this ritual witchcraft. Tucker laughed immediately. I'm not afraid of it working, I'm afraid of it not working. Since it's linked to talent. That's too easy. Barrier. Tucker followed the veins and began to explore the deeper dimension of the barrier. The wind continued. The candlelight began to flicker, and sometimes it was almost blown out. Amandi and the black sheep Tanaru. Watching all this not far away. Amenti was a little worried. Black sheep Tanaru made some sarcastic remarks. It's very difficult to guide the power of the barrier. At least you have to have a pious heart. The first time, you can only get familiar with it. If you want to complete the guidance, you have to perform more rituals and devote more resources. Moreover, even if you can guide it, it is a very fragile barrier that can't last too long. If you want to complete a thick and stable barrier, you need a high enough level. The difficulty of ritual witchcraft is the most difficult of all witchcraft. Black Sheep Tanneru said confidently. Then, how many times have you completed the guidance? The third time. Black Sheep Tanneru said very confidently. This is already a very high talent. Of course, what Black Sheep Tanneru didn't say was, although he guided it out the third time, it was only a small amount of power, and it even dissipated before the wall was built. After more than a dozen attempts, he barely completed the construction of the wall. Really? Amenti was a little unconvinced. Of course. At this time, large pieces of skeletons around Tucker began to move. The trembling skeletons collided with each other, forming a torrent of symphony. As the iron blue light curtain fell, hoo-la-la, large pieces of skeleton seemed to come alive, absorbed and gathered together. Intertwined, fused, settled, and stabilized. Like a tough skeleton rope, it constantly coupled with a noose and finally condensed. Soon, a very dense skeleton wall about 3 meters high, 5 meters long, and almost 30 centimeters thick appeared in front of everyone. The iron blue light made the entire skeleton wall shine, illuminating a large area around it. Iron coupling source wall. Tanelu jumped up instantly, his eyes almost popped out. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. He walked towards the iron blue wall in a daze. Even his trembling forelegs were not stable, and he didn't care when he fell. He was still muttering as he walked. How could someone summon the iron coupling source wall the first time they used the barrier ceremony? This must be an illusion. He used some kind of eye-smearing witchcraft to deceive me. Bang! The sheep's head and the iron coupling source wall collided with each other, making a dull sound. This is not an illusion, this is real. Tanelu, looking at the iron blue wall, was completely dazed. In his field of vision, the wall extended infinitely to both sides and above. Soon Tanelu's world completely sank into the depths of the iron coupling source wall. Looking at the black sheep kneeling and crying at the foot of the wall, Amanti looked at Tucker with some curiosity. What's wrong with him? The decline of ecological faith? Tucker said simply. Ah. What do you mean? Glancing at Tanelu, Tucker slowly explained. The ecological world formed by the wall. There are great wall holy spirits, and there are also inheritance and faith. Through ritual magic, you can guide the seeds of the powerful wall barrier, and then use your own source energy to forge your own wall ecological anchor, making your extraordinary ecology more stable. In general, the barrier is only a part. But, in order to fight against the pollution of the dark sun, it seems that he has piled up too many barriers, thus affecting his own sequence ecology, and then affecting his own soul will. And my iron coupling source wall is a higher level barrier than his source pattern barrier. Higher level walls will have an impact on lower level walls. So, Tucker looked at Tanneru and found that Tanneru had begun to lick the iron coupling source wall crazily, licking it crazily on the physical level. The picture began to become abstract. Is your iron coupling source wall very powerful? Amanti was amused by the scene. It's just a little bit higher than his wall. Tucker said lightly. Is that so? Amanti was a little unconvinced. A little bit higher could make Tanneru become like this? Tucker went up to remove the wall. If this continued, Tanneru might be completely anchored by the iron coupling source wall. He would become a wall believer sheep that could not be pulled away even if he was killed. In the sinking of the wall world, Tanneru licked the great wall frantically. Swish. Swish. Soon, Tanneru woke up. He felt his rather abstract and weird movements. Ah. Bah. Bah. Tanneru quickly stepped back, then glared at Tucker. Damn bastard, he must have done it on purpose. When he looked at the wall again, the iron blue glow was gone. However, the thick wall formed by the skeleton stood there. Iron coupling source wall. It has the ability to shape the wall. It is naturally a master of wall building. However, his source pattern barrier does not have this ability and can only be attached to the original wall. He examined the wall that had lost the iron coupling source wall. Tucker's mind was filled with the barriers deeper in the wall world that precision, correction, had detected. Above the iron coupling source wall, there were even stronger barriers. But Tucker's current strength was still too weak. He couldn't guide it over. Even if he could, it would just be like a faucet dripping water, accumulating drop by drop. The iron coupling source wall was very effective. With more time, Tucker could completely build a strong barrier. More importantly, the seed of the ritual witchcraft barrier. Through this contact, it had already appeared silently in Tucker's ecology. Tucker officially mastered the ritual witchcraft barrier. However, Tucker did not check his newly acquired ritual witchcraft. Instead, he looked at the entrance to the skeleton passage of the undead tower. "Rare guest," Tucker said softly. Amanda and Tanalu suddenly looked over. They saw that the steam knight Schiller bathed in steam was standing there quietly. Before this, they were completely unaware. Chapter 47, Demon King's Tomb, 2nd level? Looking at the sudden appearance of Zalor, both the man and the sheep were very surprised. Tanalu hid behind Amanti with his forelegs trembling. Tucker, the demon, could still be traded, and he still had a chance to survive. But Zalor was a knight who was loyal to Lamor. Once he knew that he was Tanalu and had betrayed Lamor, then the steam knight Zalor would definitely steam him on the spot. Amanti looked at Zalor with a normal expression. "It seems that you seem to have learned new witchcraft again. And it's a very powerful ritual witchcraft." Zalor examined the wall for a moment before his eyes fell on Tucker. "It's not a powerful ritual witchcraft, it just slightly expands the wizard's ability. After all, whether it's a voyage in the Starry Sea or exploring foreign lands in the future, it's definitely not possible without some means." "What's the matter?" Tucker asked. "There are quite a few things, let's go inside and talk in detail." "Yes." Tucker nodded and walked over. Soon, only Amanda and Tanalu were left in this vast underground skeleton space. "Is the iron-coupled source wall very powerful?" At this time, Amanda suddenly asked. The fact that the iron-coupled source wall stood there like an iron still couldn't change his stubbornness. "It's just a little bit stronger than mine." Recalling Tanalu's appearance just now, and combining the attitudes of the two, Amanda vaguely guessed something. "It's very likely to be a little bit stronger." On the 2nd floor, the bonfire in the fireplace was burning, and the room was very warm. As Tucker's strength gradually improved. Now, Tucker can provide a lot of heat energy by injecting a small amount of source energy into the red flame bracelet. Compared with the previous basic source energy, Tucker's source energy is much stronger now. It can be said that Tucker is no longer afraid of the cold. But Tucker still has the habit of maintaining a warm environment in cold weather. A comfortable physical ecological environment can reduce the burden on the physical body, while investing excess power into the stability and balance of the ecology. At the same time, it allows the physical body to break free from the ecological dependence of the Lamor Tower city-state more quickly. Only after the complete desensitization with the mother ecology is completed, can it be considered an independent extraordinary person. In this way, even if the ecology of Lamor's steam tower is destroyed, Tucker has the ability to escape from here, instead of being polluted without any resistance. "Want something to drink?" "Just water," Zalor said lightly. Tucker placed a large glass of water in front of Zalor. "I heard that after the steam sequence is upgraded, the steam space will make the body enter a high-temperature state. So the steam sequence needs to be replenished with a lot of water frequently, is it true?" Zalor looked at Tucker, and then looked at the large glass of water that was too much for a cow to drink and pushed it away, and then said lightly, "That's only at the beginning. After it stabilizes, it will be no different from a normal person." "Is that so?" Tucker suddenly realized. Barrier. Although it is a good way to stabilize the ecology, it is easy to cause barrier belief, and this belief is passive. Zalor reminded before the formal conversation. "I know, I will use it carefully." Tucker nodded. "I came to you for 3 things this time." After a moment's silence, Zalor slowly raised his head and looked at Tucker with his bright eyes. "The first thing is, thank you for helping my stupid brother catch the peeper. By the way, we also dug up a lot of useful information. Of course, this information cannot be leaked for now. When the time comes, if you want to know, I can tell you everything. I think, by the time I can know, I don't need to know, right?" Tucker smiled. "It's probably so." Zalor straightened his face. "But the second thing is that you can know a lot of internal information." "Internal information?" Tucker became interested. "The second thing is, the Demon King seal." Tucker adjusted his sitting posture slightly and listened carefully. After about a month, 2 senior wizards in the tower, together with a wizard from the Saint Land supernatural city who has amazing attainments in magic sealing, have successfully raised the energy level of the sealed channel to about level 15. As Ziller explained, Tucker couldn't help but think of the second-level human-faced stone snake ghost. That thing ran out from inside. Is the sealed door unbalanced inside and outside? It's easier to get out than to get in. This kind of broken ancient sealed door has many problems, it's hard to say. Tucker continued to listen quietly. At present, we have the ability to send some supernaturals into it for preliminary exploration. And the supernatural ecological environment inside is amazing. At this point, Ziller paused. According to the speculation of the 3 senior wizards, it is already very difficult to raise the upper limit of the energy channel to the peak of the first level, that is, the level of 19. It is impossible to break through to the second level in a short time. So, at this stage, the tower is drafting a group of candidates to let them enter the Demon King's sealed place for some exploration. Are you interested? Ziller looked over. Sorry, I'm not interested. Goodbye. Tucker really wants to hit 3 buttons in one go. After all, Tucker has always been the one who gets things for free from others, so how can he be the one who gets things for free from others? This kind of entering a dangerous area, working hard, and finally getting the benefits with great effort is likely to be taken away by those bigwigs. Whoever wants to go can go. Tucker is unwilling to go. After all, those so-called treasures, compared with the resources in the resource area that Tucker's system firmly anchors, it is likely that they are not worth mentioning. Lying here and getting stronger steadily, isn't it good? Seeing that Tucker was unmoved, Ziller continued to talk. Your current level is already very high. It's time to collect materials for promotion to the second level. You probably don't like ordinary second-level materials, but second-level elite materials, even leader-level materials, I think you should be interested. This made Tucker's eyebrows slightly raised. Lying here, the promotion materials will not fall directly. Tucker thought for a while and said, the temptation is not enough, please increase the intensity. Taking a deep breath, Ziller looked at Tucker and found that he could not see through this guy more and more. The Demon King tomb ecology formed by the fallen Demon King there has a good effect on your ecology. After entering, every breath can absorb the power with extraordinary characteristics to affect your ecology, helping you to better stabilize your wizard sequence ecology. Ziller's narration is quite right. Only after various baptisms and destruction, the wizard ecology that can still grow steadily and vigorously in the end is a truly powerful and stable wizard ecology. Now, Tucker is undergoing desensitization adaptation of the Lamor steam ecology. If he can go to the Demon King's tomb, it will undoubtedly accelerate the independence of Tucker's wizard sequence ecology. Of course, the most important thing is that with your strength, it is still safe to go in. After all, you only need to explore the first floor, and you don't need to enter the second floor. The second floor is the sleeping place of the Demon King. Most of the power of the Demon King sequence is deposited in the second floor, not the second floor? There is a second floor in the Demon King's tomb? Tucker, who was sitting upright, was buzzing in the depths of his mind. As for what Ziller said, Tucker couldn't hear it clearly. The second floor. Anchoring the first floor has already allowed me to obtain enough and amazing resources. If this anchor is fixed on the second floor, wouldn't it allow me to obtain more and rarer special resources? In the systematic explanation, talent fragments are just one of many rare resources. There are resources that are rarer than talent fragments. There is no doubt. The second floor of the Demon King's tomb is definitely a good place that can produce more rare resources than the first floor. Chapter 48. No one understands barriers better than me. When Tucker came back to his senses, he found that Ziller was looking at him with strange eyes. Sorry, I was thinking. Tucker smiled to cover up his embarrassment. I'm curious, what were you thinking about just now? Thinking about what I just said. What? The second level of the Demon King's tomb is a little strange. Strange. Yes, the Demon King was going to die in there, but he had to dig another hole in it to bury himself? Did he think he was not buried deep enough? The Demon King sequence and ecology. Ziller's words made Tucker think, and this time he really thought. Tucker responded after a long while. The Demon King wants to use his Demon King sequence to breed the blank inheritance of the Demon King sequence tree on the second floor, so as to give birth to a new Demon King. Yes, so this time we enter, we will only explore the first floor and not disturb the second floor. in case there is really a new Demon King inside. After all, the Demon King sequence itself is a Lord-level existence. If the Demon King is stronger, it may even be a legendary creature. Even if it is just a second or third level legendary creature, it is enough to turn the Lamore Tower upside down. That is not something we can provoke. The Demon King is so powerful, but he was sealed by those wizards back then. What an incredible group of guys. Tucker sighed. Isn't it because of this that our world has fallen? Zillur said lightly. Those wizards are crazier than anyone else. What? Tucker raised his eyebrows. When he looked at Zillur's expression was indifferent. Obviously he didn't want to say anything more. There seems to be a lot of hidden secrets. Could it be that someone in that group of people has been promoted to legendary wizard? The kind that cannot be mentioned. Tucker, who had gathered his mind, put his mind back on the Demon King's tomb. If it was just a simple Demon King's tomb, there would be no need for Tucker to go in. But now, all the good things were hidden on the second floor by the dead Demon King. It doesn't matter whether he takes the things or not. The main thing is that Tucker has to go in. Even if he just touches the door frame to enter the second floor, it will be enough. While thinking, Tucker asked, how long will it take to get in? At least more than a month, or even longer. A month. Tucker calculated the days, and it was just the time for the system to re-anchor a new location for stable development. Okay. Tucker nodded. In that case, let's make it a deal. After discussing the main matters of this trip, Zillur felt a little relieved. And there's the third thing today. This time, because of the matter of the Demon King's tomb, many powerful people from other city-states have visited our Lamore Tower city-state. The resources of a powerful Demon King's tomb, just the crystal resources of the elites and leaders of the extraordinary biological species in it, are already very exaggerated. Not to mention the power of the possible Demon King sequence. If the Demon King sequence tree really exists in it, and the Demon King has not yet been born, Lamore Tower city-state will even become the second only to the St. Rand extraordinary city-state in the Dark Curtain province. Even if it doesn't, relying solely on the resources inside, it is also an extremely rare opportunity for Lamore Tower city-state to strengthen its ties with surrounding city-states and St. Rand. So, this time on the coldest day of the ash moon, the Steam Tower will hold a dinner. By then, there will be many talented extraordinary people from other city-states going there, and even some heirs with bloodline power from extraordinary families. Of course, some geniuses from St. Rand will also come. Oh. By the way, you should have met them when you were baptized, right? I remember. Tucker nodded. At that time, there were two extraordinary geniuses following Zillur, both of whom were very talented. The dinner was very sumptuous, and my brother even took the initiative to find me to eat and drink. After you are promoted to the second level, you will definitely go to St. Lander, to a larger extraordinary ecological area, to adapt to a wider world. It is a rare opportunity to meet those geniuses now. If you want to participate, just go there when the time comes. Zillur put the silver invitation in front of Tucker. When the time comes, if there is time or the opportunity is right, I will participate. Tucker thought about it and said so. Oh? Is there anything important? Murder. Tucker said straightforwardly. Murder. Zillur frowned slightly. Yes. And a very important guy. Do you need help? After thinking about it, Tucker shook his head. Thank you, I have invited a very powerful helper. Then I wish you success in killing. Zillur stood up and said. I will. Tucker responded affirmatively after looking at the silver-textured invitation on the table. After sending Zillur away, Tucker returned to the room. He picked up the silver invitation, flipped through it, and put it into the extraordinary bracelet. Huh? Tucker, sitting on the sofa, let out a breath. After putting aside many things such as the Demon King's catacombs and the banquet that he might or might not go to next, Tucker gradually calmed down. There is no doubt that this banquet is destined to be not peaceful. If Tucker hadn't interfered, perhaps this would be a hunt by the Evil Gout organization against the Lamore Tower city-state. But now, something is different. It's hard to say who is the hunter and who is the prey. No matter what, the most important thing is to improve my ecological stability as soon as possible. Only a strong and stable ecology cannot be afraid of pollution. A guy like Tanilu has the innate abilities of purification and redemption, so he can save himself even if he is polluted. And I can only rely on the ecology to fight and expel it. The A-level talent of the Dark Sun Evil Gad organization is very likely to have similar pollution methods. Thinking of this, Tucker rubbed his eyebrows. The faith traction of the iron coupling source wall from the wall barrier world is indeed quite powerful. I need to guide it while cutting off the veins. In this way, I can absorb enough and strong enough ecology of the iron coupling source wall in my wizard ecological sequence. It has the defensive effect of the barrier, but it will not generate faith in the wall. Unlike Tanilu, who doesn't obey anyone but the wall. In the next few days, the weather became colder and colder. The ash moon was even more unscrupulous in releasing its greatest chill to the world. Tucker continued to practice his witchcraft. At the same time, he also began to use the iron coupling source wall to gradually anchor and improve his wizard sequence ecology. Using the ritual, Tucker gradually extracted the iron coupling source wall and continuously integrated it into his wizard ecology. Tucker can of course extract higher level barriers. However, now is the beginning of the construction. Tucker needs to try it step by step and verify the feasibility before he can gradually go deeper. Starting with the iron coupling source wall, the effect is just right. Of course, for each ray of iron coupling source wall power extracted, Tucker will carefully cut off the veins and absorb the passive iron coupling source wall. Then Tucker will anchor the cut veins to the undead ravens in the outside world. Cutting off the veins for no reason, who can be sure that the Great Barrier will not notice it? But there is no problem in anchoring the cut veins to those undead ravens. After all, no one stipulates that undead ravens cannot believe in wall barriers. Not to mention, Tucker's method is really useful. As time goes by, Tucker's wizard ecology has stabilized visibly and has begun to develop towards stability. The only problem is that among the group of undead ravens that often hang on the skeleton railings on Tucker's floor, most of the undead ravens are facing outwards. But there are always a few guys who like to face inwards, and in the direction of the wall barriers of the undead tower. And these crows are the crows that Tucker has anchored his faith in the wall barriers. This kind of power that can forcibly pass through faith and distort will, combined with Taniru's weird performance before, let Tucker have a deeper understanding of the extraordinary world, the power and terror of those mysterious forces. Facing those terrifying evil gods, staying for one more second will melt, and looking at them for one more time will explode. It is not an exaggeration at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49: The Kryptonian Boy from a Wizard Family. Undead Tower, Rooftop. Tucker raised his hand and almost touched the huge gray fog steam ring that had dropped a little during the gray night. The steam elves should have been sleeping during the gray night. At this time, there were a few naughty little guys who refused to sleep honestly. They wandered back and forth in the steam gray fog, and laughed playfully. But soon, an adult steam elf with a strong breath appeared. Not long after, those steam elves, in the midst of crying and screaming, were twisted by the adult steam elves to leave this area. Feeling this scene, Tucker smiled knowingly. Small creatures such as spirits and elemental bodies in the ecology are also anchors for stabilizing the ecology. These steam elves will work hard to maintain the steam extraordinary ecology of L'Amour, clean up and maintain the purity of the steam ring. In front of L'Amour, the steam elves and Tucker and others have a high degree of similarity. However, when the steam ecology of L'Amour Tower is destroyed, Tucker and others who have the vitality of independent extraordinary ecology can still leave. And these little elves who can't leave the steam ecology, they will all become burial objects in the L'Amour cemetery. Taking a deep breath, Tucker looked past the gray fog steam ring and looked at the huge, ash moon, that was 10 times the size of his previous life. Cold. It was extremely blooming in the moonlight. And today is the coldest day in this round of ash cycle. In the distance, the steam tower was close to the same level, and the lights were brilliant, like a dazzling lighthouse. The successful excavation of the ancient demon ruins. Geniuses gathered here under the leadership of the strong. This brought an unprecedented grand occasion to the L'Amour Tower city-state. Tucker wanted to see, but he couldn't see clearly. But there was no need to see clearly, Tucker just needed to wait for the news. Tucker turned his head and looked at several high-level undead ravens who were waiting on the rooftop like him. Gah, gah. The only response to Tucker was a low and faint hissing. The news has not been confirmed yet. Who? Exhale. Tucker adjusted his sitting posture and continued to wait. While waiting, Tucker went to feel his wizard sequence ecology. Thanks to Tucker's continuous absorption of iron coupling source wall in the past few days, Tucker's wizard ecology is constantly strengthening and stabilizing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Of course, it is not without a price. Those undead crews are becoming more and more abnormal. They have even begun to form a group to face the wall and reflect. As Tucker's wizard ecology becomes more and more stable, Tucker clearly feels that the speed of his escape from the ecology of the Lamore Tower is accelerating. Feeling the cold wind blowing in the deep corners, there is a faint shadow outline passing by. As he uses the shadow power, Tucker gradually feels the characteristics of the shadow dimension. If it is other extraordinary people, it may take half a year or even longer to feel it. With the SSS level extraordinary talent, Tucker has not used the shadow power for a long time, and he has already seen the shadow dimension. Being able to feel more dimensions is a good thing for a wizard. Even if you can sense it a little, it is still a bit difficult to summon creatures in the shadow dimension. Tucker rubbed his eyebrows. It can be seen that I really have no talent in summoning. It's not enough to have a theoretical basis for summoning. I need a formal shadow contract summoning sorcery. I don't have enough talent, so I can only use sorcery. And I really need a summoning sorcery for shadow creatures. It's a very good choice to let those shadow creatures block the belief of the wall barrier. The huge wall barrier is so majestic, and it's reasonable to have a little shadow in the corner. Gaga. Just as Tucker was thinking, a crow close to Tucker suddenly made a low hissing, which was particularly harsh in this cold night sky. Teacher. Tucker hurriedly stood up. The undead raven flapped its wings slightly, then looked at Tucker and said quickly, "The old wizard has arrived, but the genius you mentioned has not come. Let's act." Tucker's heart condensed slightly, and he took a deep breath. Yes. Gaga. A large number of undead ravens around him rose up. Tucker put on a gray wizard hood. The shadow power quickly spread around his body with a ring staff as the center, like a thick and sticky dark liquid, wrapping Tucker. At the same time, the second-level alchemy robe, under the blessing of the shadow robe, turned into a pair of huge shadow wings. After Tucker cast a wind sprint spell on himself, his legs suddenly exerted force. Like a cannonball, it streaked across the night sky and then slid quickly towards the bunker area. The combined power of the wizard robe and the shadow robe was not enough to support Tucker's flight, but it allowed Tucker to glide a long enough distance. Gaga. While gliding, Tucker could see that a large number of undead ravens had begun to fall to the bunker area. Tucker also landed silently on a remote path in the bunker area. Slightly retracting the wizard robe, Tucker turned into a shadow and perfectly passed through the shadows of bushes and houses. Compared to the last action, this time Tucker acted alone, and both speed and concealment were perfectly utilized under Tucker's control. Passing by the familiar intersection, Tucker looked around. The girl who had fallen asleep before and whose growth speed was amazing was gone. And the gloomy rune youth also disappeared. Interesting. Tucker did not stop and walked through the street silently. As he went deeper, Tucker's precision correction talent was also completely opened. Those visible and invisible. Hidden, deep in the dimension. From the sky, from the underground. A large number of veins, trajectories, dynamics, densely stacked in Tucker's vision, filled Tucker's perception. It's not that Tucker doesn't look at it normally. It's that he has entered the extreme stage of full vision, and sees too many things too densely. Tucker seems to be walking in a world of massive exploding information. A large amount of complex information, like waves one after another, is about to drown Tucker. Tucker is constantly screening information efficiently and quickly. Like a reef in the waves, it is indestructible and constantly resists the scouring of massive amounts of information. The night is silent. That's just because you see too little. When you listen carefully to this world, go deeper and deeper. The world is surprisingly noisy. Hoo-la-la. When the waves like ash sounded in Tucker's ears and even washed over Tucker's feet, Tucker stopped. Closing his eyes and concentrating his perception, Tucker tried his best to make his breathing smooth and natural. The ridicule of the world gradually faded away. Tucker opened his eyes again. In front of him was a simple and slightly distorted red brick house, a standard ash Gothic style. In the cold and lonely ash moonlight, it was so inconspicuous. If it weren't for a close observation, Tucker couldn't even see the situation inside the house. No. Even if he observed it closely, Tucker didn't see much. But the Krypton Gold Wizard boy from the wizard family who had met once was steadily immersed in the afterglow of the dark sun altar. It seemed to feel something. The Krypton Gold Wizard boy opened his eyes, which were extremely gray. Squeak, ah. The slightly old double wooden door slowly opened. Inside the door frame, there was endless darkness. The figure of the wizard boy was vaguely standing in the darkness of the house. Have you heard about the fighting methods of the group of cowboy knights on the western wilderness plateau? A voice came from the darkness. I have heard about it. Tucker nodded. Are you interested? The voice came again. Tucker laughed. What gave you the courage and made you feel that you have the strength to fight against me? Rubbing his fingers, Tucker tilted his head slightly, and the shadow cheek emerging from the outline of the hood showed a devilish smile. Then are you ready? Chapter 50 Shadow Walking. Shadow and darkness. Inside and outside the house. Both figures held their breath. Suddenly. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder was heard in the distance. No, a battle was taking place in the tower. The shining thunder swept across the entire city-state of the Lamore Tower along with the thunder. Almost at the sound of thunder, Tucker fired a shot. Bang! The bullet tentacles fell into the depths of darkness, creating a few ripples. Where Tucker stood, a large piece of meteorite fell rapidly. Tucker retreated silently and sank into the depths of the shadows under the trees. Boom! Boom! Several holes of varying sizes were blown up on the ground one after another. The holes were not important. What was important was the black flames in the holes. I saw that the black flames condensed into black scorpions the size of a palm, and the scorpions waved and quickly sank into the shadows, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Intensive gunfire rang out one after another. Bang, bang, bang. Wait until the gunfire ended. Each of the scorpions that had escaped into the shadows was pierced by the bullet tentacles, and fell out of the shadows in a state of wreckage. After a moment, it turned into black flame ashes. Inside the red brick house, Arthurson Weir with blonde hair and wearing a white wizard robe, looking at the slightly rippling aftermath of the attack on the life plating in front of him. He had already realized that this battle would probably not be simple. He was hiding in the silent dark sun. People outside could hardly detect his specific location. Only a large-scale attack could affect him. However, the wizard outside hid him with a bullet-like attack. And its flame meteorite and the black flame scorpion that escaped into the shadows were also easily solved by the opponent. The opponent's mastery of the power of shadows and insight are extraordinary. Something. Arthurson Weir took a deep breath. Then, he glanced in the direction of the tower. There was an astonishing battle fluctuation. And he was discovered again after hiding so deeply. I'm afraid. The enemy is well prepared. But so what? Reaching out to the side, the source energy and the power of Dark Sun quickly condensed. A first-level peak wizard is just right for me. After catching and eating him, I can better stabilize my Dark Sun ecology. Mother, did you see it? Arthurson Weir gently stroked the white wizard robe on his chest. And there was a woman's pretty face, like human skin. Dong dong dong. At this moment, 5 or 6 items bounced in quickly through the doors and windows. These non-witchcraft items were delivered in a very concealed way, until they collided with the floor and walls in the house. And the landing position happened to be around Arthurson Weir. Arthurson Weir realized the seriousness of the matter. Boom! The explosion of the alchemical bomb was like thunder, shaking the fields. Even the darkness was squeezed out of the window. Several alchemical bombs exploded at the same time. This impossible thing was precisely controlled by the wizard outside. And this kind of precise explosion, the terrifying impact force and the metal frenzy of the alchemical bomb. At this moment, Arthurson Weir completely felt the power of alchemical technology. The condensed state, life plating, that was like liquid was destroyed several layers. Bastard! Roar! The angry roar was sharp and piercing. And from the surging darkness, Tucker saw something familiar. Dark Sun. We can't let him condense Dark Sun. Based on the principle of striking first, the stronger the power. Whoosh! 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 One after another, the kerosene bombs continued to fall into the house. The trajectory of the kerosene bombs was also very strange. The trajectory when passing through the doorway was roughly the same, but after a bounce, the trajectory of the kerosene bombs was completely different. Some fell on the floor, some fell on the ceiling, and some fell on the wall. When it landed for the second time, the kerosene bombs would instantly turn into dense kerosene and bloom instantly. If it was just a simple flame, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to drive away the dark sun. However, in the large-scale red flames, there was a certain breath of light. With the help of precision, correction, the kerosene bomb and the spear of shaping light completed a certain witchcraft linkage. The light in the flame contains the breath of light, which is reasonable. The burning of the power of light. The power of the dark sun was obviously suppressed. Take advantage of your illness to kill you. Tucker opened fire at full power, and the kerosene bombs were continuously thrown into the house along the door frame. The flame squeezed out along the window and climbed up the wall. In a blink of an eye, the entire red brick house, which was not too big or small, was already in a sea of fire. And the power of the sacred light was getting stronger and stronger. Buzz! A dull sound like a heavy blow on the heart suddenly sounded. Not only did the flames tremble, even Tucker's heart suddenly beat violently. Tucker had felt the strange power of the evil god for a long time. He suppressed a discomfort from his heart. The corner of his eye glanced at the trajectory that was about to come. Tucker directly used the shadow ring staffs, shadow travel, and traveled from the current shadow position to another shadow. Shadow travel is also one of the most powerful abilities of the rune shadow staff. At the same time, a ray of dark sunlight pierced through the flames and shut out. Swish, even the shadow was crushed at the position where Tucker was before. The speed of the dark sunlight was indeed amazingly fast. But it formed a perfect match with Tucker's shadow travel, and the two passed each other. Just a little bit. Arthurson Weir, who emerged from the dark sunlight, looked at the shadow under a tree not far away and whispered. At this time, at the position of Arthurson Weir's shoulders, two black dark sunlight balls were burning like candle flames. Tucker glanced at the burning dark sun candle flames and felt a slight dizziness. Tucker quickly adjusted his sight. At the moment when Tucker was slightly dizzy, enveloped, penetrated, suppressed, deformed, witchcraft, sheep transformation was performed. Arthurson Weir's sheep transformation directly completed the spell traction, and the target was Tucker. Goodbye. Arthurson Weir waved with a smile. His sheep transformation level was already 19th level. It was the witchcraft he was most proud of. Arthurson Weir felt very clearly that the wizard who was only 18th level did not have the witchcraft with the power of the transformation sequence. In other words, the opponent did not master the power of sheep transformation. Without mastering the sequence of sheep transformation, there would be no way to resist and exempt from sheep transformation. As long as he caught the opportunity, the outcome would be directly determined. Sheep transformation, the core witchcraft of wizards, is so powerful. The outline of the sheep's body appeared on Tucker. The next moment, the outline of the sheep transformation was shattered. Huh? What's the situation? Arthurson Weir's face sank slightly. Oh, right. At this time, Tucker slowly walked out of the shadows. You didn't sense that I had the witchcraft sequence for the sheep transformation, so you wanted to transform me into a sheep and kill me directly. Unfortunately, what you can see is only what I want you to see. At this moment, Arthurson Weir's face changed a little. The wizard in front of him had more amazing means than he imagined. There is one more thing I forgot to remind you. Guess why I forced you out of the house? As soon as these words came out, Arthurson's face changed drastically. Not good. Arthurson suddenly turned back and looked at the burning hut. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.